Demon Monarch Ancient Knight initially wanted to capture Jian Wushuang alive. After all, Jian Wushuang was a real super genius, one that might not even exist in the billions of star worlds. Such a super genius was priceless. If he could take him under his wing, he would receive incredible benefits. However, with Jian Wushuang's current strength, it was impossible for him to capture him alive. Therefore, he could only settle for the second best and kill Jian Wushuang. He knew that if Jian Wushuang, a principal's master, could have such battle strength in such a remote star field, he must have gotten an incredible opportunity. The two rule supreme treasures in his hands clearly showed this. Therefore, even if he could not take Jian Wushuang under his command, as long as he killed him and obtained his two rule supreme treasures, he believed that his gains would not be low. Blood Sword Master, you are indeed impressive to be able to force me to this point. But that's it. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's eyes were cold. Next, I'm going to use my strongest trump card. Even though I've been in that place for a long time, I've only used this move a dozen times. You should be proud to die under this move. As soon as Demon Monarch Ancient Knight finished speaking, a large amount of black light began to condense on his body. Do you still have a trump card? Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted, and he could not help but exclaim in his heart. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight had been able to survive in the eternal dark prison, so his methods were indeed extraordinary. Even now, he still had a trump card that he had not used. Moreover, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight had fought with him for a long time and had some understanding of his strength, but he still dared to say that this move had the chance to kill him. It was obvious that the power of this move was extraordinary. Ha! Demon Monarch Ancient Knight suddenly shouted in a low voice. The aura on his body suddenly weakened greatly, and he spat out a mouthful of hot blood. It's a special secret skill, and the price for him to use this secret skill is definitely not small. Jian Wushuang's face was solemn. When he sensed that Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's aura had weakened greatly, he knew that this move was not trivial. Boom! Demon Monarch Ancient Knight made his move. A large amount of dark light condensed at a terrifying speed, and in the blink of an eye, it formed an ancient black giant finger. The giant black finger carried an earth-shaking destructive power and directly came toward Jian Wushuang's finger. This move! Jian Wushuang's pupils suddenly constricted. He could feel the terrifying power contained in this move. If the battle strength of Demon Monarch Ancient Knight was at the peak of the second level, then the power of the finger that he had used at great cost was definitely beyond the second level. It had reached the third level, and it was probably at the advanced ruler level. Haha! This move is a secret skill from my sect. It was created by a supreme being. Its power is extremely powerful. I used 40% of my divine power and part of my blood essence to barely use this move. I don't believe that he can resist it. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's eyes were cold. However, under his gaze, Jian Wushuang suddenly burst out with overwhelming divine power. Boom! Divine power swept wildly. In the next moment, it began to burn at a terrifying speed. Dragon Destruction's secret skill, Divine Power Burning. As the divine power burned, Jian Wushuang's divine power instantly increased by 100 times. Under the amplification of various secret skills, his power had reached a new level. Earth Guard! Jian Wushuang suddenly waved the divine sword in his hand. Under the power of the universe principle, the Wuxia divine sword also displayed extraordinary power. In an instant, a layer of Earth Sword Realm condensed in front of Jian Wushuang. In an instant, a total of 43 layers of Earth Sword Realm formed. Yes, 43 layers. After Jian Wushuang came out of the dusky demon realm, he stayed in the Red Cloud world for thousands of years. During those thousands of years, he used the opportunities in the Red Cloud world to improve his strength again, not just in the universe principle. His comprehension of the universe origin of sword principle and swordsmanship was even higher now. It could be said that he had reached the peak among the third-level masters. With such comprehension of the universe origin of sword principle and full use of the Earth Guard, he could instantly condense 43 levels of the Earth Sword Realm. The 43 levels of the Earth Sword Realm were stronger and stronger. Boom! The ancient giant black finger slowly extended and finally hit the Earth Sword Realm on the surface of Jian Wushuang's body. In an instant, the power burst out. The 43 levels of Earth Sword Realm and 30 levels of Sword Realm were like transparent window paper, directly pierced by the giant black finger. Then the giant black finger continued to attack the 31st level, the 32nd level. In the blink of an eye, it defeated the first 39 levels. However, when it reached the 40th level, the speed of the giant black finger obviously slowed down. When it reached the 41st level, the giant black finger paused for a long time before it finally managed to break through. As for the 42nd level, the giant black finger failed to defeat the 42nd level and dissipated. The giant black finger finally stopped at the 42nd level. I used the dragon-killing secret skill and the most powerful defensive sword skill, Earthguard, under the premise of increasing my divine power, but I was also defeated by the first 41 levels of the Sword Realm. The power of this finger is really amazing. Jian Wushuang could not help but exclaim. Jian Wushuang was only exclaiming in admiration, but Demon Monarch Ancient Knight was shocked, even terrified. How is it possible? I used a lot of divine power and even sacrificed part of my blood essence to perform my strongest move. Even an ordinary third-level primary ruler in the Eternal Dark Prison would be severely injured by my move. He, a mere Principles Master, not only completely blocked my move, but also perfectly blocked it with his body-protecting sword skill. How could I fail to break his body-protecting sword skill? How could he be so strong? Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's body and mind trembled. Jian Wushuang's cold eyes had already looked at Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, you've already used your strongest move, so you can lend me another sword. Jian Wushuang slowly raised the Wuqi divine sword in his hand. Under the crazy burning of divine power, he suddenly waved it. In the next moment, a terrifying hazy sword shadow directly slashed out. It was the most powerful sword skill, hazy. It was the same sword skill, but Jian Wushuang, who had used the dragon-killing secret skill, was much more powerful than before. Not good. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's expression changed greatly. He could tell at a glance that the power of the sword was extremely strong, at least at the threshold of the third level. Even in his heyday, he did not dare to take such a sword skill lightly. Moreover, his divine power, blood essence, and battle prowess were greatly damaged. At most, he only had 60% of his peak strength. 60% of his strength. How could he dare to receive this sword? Run! Demon Monarch Ancient Knight did not hesitate. His figure suddenly turned from one to hundreds of thousands of figures, which fled in all directions. Although the fog formed by Jian Wushuang's obscure swordsmanship covered him immediately, it only covered a part of his figure. The bodies that were covered were all destroyed by the sword light, but it was obvious that Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's original body was not among them. Whoosh! The bodies in the sky suddenly disappeared, and Demon Monarch Ancient Knight appeared in the void far away from Jian Wushuang. Although his strength is damaged, he can still use such a powerful life-saving secret skill. He deserves to be able to survive in the Eternal Dark Prison. Even if he is seriously injured, I can't kill him. Jian Wushuang put away the two Rule Supreme Treasures. At the same time, he stopped burning the divine power in his body. At this moment, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight was staring at Jian Wushuang with a serious expression. As for the experts of Ancient Knight Demon Palace who were watching the battle, they were silent. They had witnessed the battle from the beginning to the end, and of course they had seen the final result. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight used his strongest trump card, but Jian Wushuang's protective sword skill could not even break it. However, Jian Wushuang's last move scared Demon Monarch Ancient Knight so much that he fled in panic. He did not dare to fight back. Obviously, Jian Wushuang won this battle. In terms of strength, Jian Wushuang was even stronger than Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. From today onwards, the strongest expert in this star field will probably be replaced by Blood Sword Master. Sky Master sighed in his heart. I actually went to Star Palace to talk nonsense. In fact, I was the one who attracted Blood Sword Master. The monarch was extremely terrified. Before, he did not care about Star Palace because he had Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's support. Even though he knew that Jian Wushuang was stronger than him, he did not care. But now he knew that Blood Sword Master's strength was even more terrifying than that of Demon Monarch, which really terrified him. He could imagine that if Jian Wushuang wanted to kill him, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight would not stop him. Even if he wanted to stop him, he probably could not. Blood Sword Master, you have won this battle. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight finally spoke. He did not say anything, nor did he defend himself. A loss was a loss. He had stayed in the eternal dark prison for so many years, and there were many people who were stronger than him. If he did not even have the courage to admit defeat, he would have been killed countless times. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, you are indeed very strong, especially that last finger. It almost destroyed my most powerful protective means. I was lucky to defeat you, with the help of a supreme treasure, Jian Wushuang said. A supreme treasure is also a kind of strength. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight smiled and said, Blood Sword Master, this place is right in front of the palace of the Ancient Knight Demon Palace. Why don't you come with me to the Demon Palace and talk about it in detail? Talk about it in detail? Jian Wushuang's expression changed, and then he nodded with a smile. Since Demon Monarch Ancient Knight has invited me, I won't stand on ceremony. Please lead the way. Haha. Come with me. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight laughed heartily. Just now, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight was thinking of using his strongest trump card to kill Jian Wushuang. But now, in the blink of an eye, he invited Jian Wushuang to the Demon Palace to talk about it in detail, and Jian Wushuang directly agreed. This was normal. After all, Jian Wushuang and Demon Monarch Ancient Knight did not have any grudges before. It was just that there was some friction during the ruler's death trip to the Star Palace. However, this kind of friction was not considered hatred. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight wanted to kill Jian Wushuang because he had a supreme treasure and wanted it. However, since he could not kill Jian Wushuang, he naturally did not want to be Jian Wushuang's enemy. After all, Jian Wushuang's current strength was slightly stronger than his. However, the most terrifying thing about Jian Wushuang was his potential. If he was already so strong as a principal's master, who knew how strong he would be when he broke through to become a ruler? As for Jian Wushuang, he could not kill Demon Monarch Ancient Knight either. He also needed to learn some things about the Eternal Dark Prison from Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. Of course, he would not choose to become enemies with Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. Both of them knew that the other was strong, so they would not become enemies. In the magnificent Demon Palace, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight did not choose to sit on the lofty throne above. Instead, he sat opposite Jian Wushuang in front of a long table. This was also a show of respect for Jian Wushuang's strength. He completely placed Jian Wushuang on the same level as him. On the long table there was fine wine. Blood Sword Master, this is the wine I collected from the treasury of the North Sea Palace after I destroyed it. It will be of great help to cultivators below the level of a ruler. Most importantly, it tastes good. Do you want to try it? Demon Monarch Ancient Knight asked. Jian Wushuang took a look at the wine and shook his head. No, to be honest, I came here to find you. Oh! Demon Monarch Ancient Knight raised his eyebrows. You're here for the Star Palace, right? That's one of the reasons. Jian Wushuang nodded. The Ancient Knight Demon Palace has gone too far. I'll give you an explanation. Blood Sword Master. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's voice was solemn. He glanced to the side and said, Jun Yun. Demon Monarch. Jun Yun immediately knelt down in fear. Blood Sword Master, this matter started because of Jun Yun. He took a fancy to the special treasure of Star Palace, the triple-layer Dao Realm, so he used the name of our Ancient Knight Demon Palace to ask for it. He was defeated by the ruler of Star Palace, so he told me about the treasure after he came back. He also told me about his grievances. I am the Palace Master of Ancient Knight Demon Palace. In order to protect my face, I sent a message to ask the Palace Master of Star Palace to bring the treasure to me. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight said. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. He could tell that Demon Monarch Ancient Knight was not lying, and there was no need for him to lie. Jun Yun played a big part in the matter between Ancient Knight Demon Palace and Star Palace. Jun Yun is here now. It doesn't matter how you deal with Blood Sword Master. Even if you kill him directly, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight said casually as he took a sip of the wine on the table. He said it easily, but Jun Yun, who was kneeling next to him, was terrified. Demon Monarch, spare me, Spare me. Junyun kept begging for mercy, but Demon Monarch Ancient Knight did not even look at him. To Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, Junyun was just a first-level advanced ruler. He did not care about such a ruler in the universe. However, Jian Wushuang was different. He was an incredible super genius with unlimited potential. What he needed to do now was to try his best to build a relationship with Jian Wushuang. He would not make enemies with Jian Wushuang for a mere monarch death. Kill him directly? Jian Wushuang looked with interest at the ruler Yun, who was kneeling beside him and begging for mercy. The ruler Yun, an advanced ruler expert, was definitely a top existence in this star field. Jian Wushuang had never looked up to such an existence before, but now he was kneeling in front of him. With just a thought, he could decide whether he lived or died. Forget it. I don't want to kill you, but you have to go to my star palace. As for what you should do, you can think about it yourself, Jian Wushuang said. He told him that killing an advanced ruler was no longer a sense of accomplishment. Hurry up and thank Blood Sword Master for sparing your life, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight said coldly. Thank you, Blood Sword Master. Thank you, Blood Sword Master. Ruler Junyun felt relieved. I'll leave immediately and go to Star Palace to apologize in person. Jian Wushuang just waved his hand casually. Then he looked at Demon Monarch Ancient Knight and said solemnly, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, I actually have another more important matter to attend to. Jian Wushuang lowered his voice. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight understood and immediately ordered, You can all leave. Yes. Sky Master and the others who were accompanying him immediately bowed and left. Only Jian Wushuang and Demon Monarch Ancient Knight were left in the Grand Hall. The latter even set a layer of restriction to prevent anyone from hearing their conversation. Blood Sword Master, you can speak now. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight looked over. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, I won't beat around the bush. I'm very interested in the Eternal Dark Prison, Jian Wushuang said. You really know about the Eternal Dark Prison? Demon Monarch Ancient Knight looked at Jian Wushuang seriously. During the battle with Jian Wushuang had praised him for coming from that place. At that time, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight had guessed whether Jian Wushuang knew about his origin. Now it seemed that Jian Wushuang did. Blood Sword Master, I can ask, how do you know about the Eternal Dark Prison and how do you know that I escaped from it? Demon Monarch Ancient Knight asked. It's very simple. Jian Wushuang smiled and took out an item. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, you should know this item in my hand, right? Jian Wushuang took out a token. This is a token of a disciple of the Red Cloud lineage, and it's an inner disciple's token. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight was completely shocked. He had roamed the Divine Kingdom under the Red Cloud lineage and committed a serious crime. He had been imprisoned in the Eternal Dark Prison by the Red Cloud lineage. After that, he had spent countless years within the Red Cloud lineage. Naturally, he had a deep understanding of the Red Cloud lineage. He knew how powerful the Red Cloud lineage was. His master, for example, could be considered quite powerful. He had quite a few autarchs behind him, but his master did not dare to offend the Red Cloud lineage at all. He knew that he had been imprisoned in the Eternal Dark Prison, but he pretended not to see it. It was clear how powerful the Red Cloud lineage was. However, the Red Cloud lineage had not appeared in the Eternal Prison for a very, very long time. In the past tens to hundreds of chaos cycles, no new prisoners had been imprisoned in the Eternal Prison. Thus, there had been rumors in the Eternal Prison that the Red Cloud lineage had been completely destroyed. After escaping from the Eternal Prison, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight was even more certain that the Red Cloud lineage had been destroyed. For this reason, he was extremely happy and delighted. However, he did not expect to meet an inner disciple of the Red Cloud lineage in the blink of an eye. No, you're just a principles master. It's obvious that you haven't cultivated for long, and the Red Cloud lineage has been destroyed for God knows how many years. You're definitely not a disciple of the Red Cloud lineage at its peak. If I'm not wrong, you must have gotten an opportunity left behind by the Red Cloud lineage in the Divine Kingdom ruins of the Red Cloud lineage recently to become an inner disciple of the Red Cloud lineage, right? Demon Monarch Ancient Knight asked. Yes, I just became an inner disciple of the Red Cloud lineage, so you don't have to worry. I won't hate you because of the Red Cloud lineage and lock you up in the eternal dark prison again. Even if I wanted to, I don't have the ability, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Well, since you just became a disciple of the Red Cloud lineage, you're not my enemy. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight nodded secretly. He had been imprisoned in the eternal dark prison for a long time by the Red Cloud lineage and suffered a lot. It was not easy for him to escape. It would be impossible for him not to hate the Red Cloud lineage. However, the Red Cloud lineage had already been destroyed. The expert of the Red Cloud lineage who had imprisoned him in the eternal dark prison had probably died long ago. Naturally, he would not implicate Jian Wushuang. After all, Jian Wushuang had only become a disciple of the Red Cloud lineage after he had obtained an opportunity recently. I am an inner disciple of the Red Cloud lineage, so I naturally know about the existence of the eternal dark prison. I also know that you had just escaped from the first level of the eternal dark prison not long ago. As for the reason why I came to look for you this time, I mainly want to ask you about the things in the eternal dark prison, Jian Wushuang said. Are you asking about the eternal dark prison because you want to go in? Demon Monarch Ancient Knight frowned and asked. Yes, I do. Jian Wushuang smiled. There are countless experts in the eternal dark prison. Even in the first level, there are countless experts at the top of the second level and even the third level. Of course, I want to explore such a place. You have the keepsake of the inner disciple of the Red Cloud lineage. In the eternal dark prison, you can mobilize the power of the array. You are invincible. Your experience will not be life-threatening, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight said. Yes, but I still need to get some information about the eternal dark prison from you. In addition, although I know that the eternal dark prison is hidden in the depths of Crimson Stone Mountain, I don't know the exact location of its entrance. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, you have to lead the way for me, Jian Wushuang said. The information is simple. I can tell you everything I know. As for leading the way, it's not impossible, but I have a condition, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight said seriously. Condition? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Tell me. I have an enemy in the first level of the eternal dark prison. He is a complete lunatic. I fell into his hands and was tortured by him for 1 billion years. I have never forgotten this hatred, but he is far stronger than me. I couldn't do anything to him in the eternal dark prison. Even if he comes out of the eternal dark prison one day, I'm afraid I'm not his match. So, I want you to help me take revenge. The Demon Monarch Ancient Knight clenched his teeth and said in a low voice. Revenge. Jian Wushuang looked at Demon Monarch Ancient Knight in surprise. He could tell that Demon Monarch Ancient Knight absolutely hated his enemy. Otherwise, he would not be so angry. Moreover, he could tell that the reason why Demon Monarch Ancient Knight hated him so much was not because he had killed some of his closest relatives, but because he had been captured alive in eternal dark prison, and he had been in his hands for 1 billion years. During that 1 billion years, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight must have been tortured by him. However, since he was so powerful that he could capture Demon Monarch Ancient Knight alive, how did he escape from him in the end? Jian Wushuang was puzzled, but he did not ask further. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, who is your enemy? Jian Wushuang asked. Star Demon Ancestor is one of the most terrifying rulers in the first level of Eternal Darkness Prison. Standing at the top, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight said, in terms of realm, Star Demon Ancestor is also only a third-level primary ruler, but his battle strength is extremely terrifying and he has many different methods. I am at the peak of the second level and my life-saving methods are good. I can run away from ordinary third-level rulers. But against Star Demon Ancestor, he easily captured me. Couldn't fight back at all. I was tortured by him for 1 billion years. In the end, he got tired of me and let me go. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He was wondering how Demon Monarch Ancient Knight escaped from Star Demon Ancestor. It was not because he escaped, but because he released him. After torturing him for 1 billion years, Star Demon Ancestor still dared to release Demon Monarch Ancient Knight despite knowing how much he hated him. It was evident how confident Star Demon Ancestor was in his own strength. In terms of strength, Star Demon Ancestor should be much stronger than you, Blood Sword Master. However, Blood Sword Master, You are an inner disciple of the Red Cloud lineage, so you can mobilize the power of the Eternal Dark Prison's array. As long as he is standing in front of you, you can easily mobilize the power of the array to suppress and kill him. No matter how strong he is, he has no room for resistance in front of you, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight said. Jian Wushuang nodded and said, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, I promise you that when I go to the first level of Eternal Darkness Prison, I will find Star Demon Ancestor and avenge you. Thank you. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's eyes lit up. Now, tell me in detail about the information in the first level of Eternal Darkness Prison, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Immediately, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight began to tell him in detail. After talking for 3 days and 3 nights, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight also gave Jian Wushuang a very detailed information about the experts. There were countless experts in the first level of Eternal Darkness Prison. After a long time, most of the experts were known and had very detailed information. Then, Jian Wushuang went to Crimson Stone Mountain under the personal guidance of Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. Before heading to Crimson Stone Mountain, Jian Wushuang also greeted Xian God and the others, telling them that the crisis in Star Palace had been resolved and that Monarch Death would soon go to the Construction Union to apologize. As for Ancient Knight Demon Palace, they would never become enemies with Star Palace again, so they did not have to worry about it. In fact, even if Jian Wushuang did not tell them, it would not take long for Xian God and the others to find out. After all, the scene of Jian Wushuang and Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's face-to-face battle outside the Ancient Knight Demon Palace was witnessed by many people. The news of this battle would certainly spread throughout the star field. Jian Wushuang and Demon Monarch Ancient Knight's face-to-face battle, or under the premise of unleashing all their battle strength, still defeated Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. This news could cause a huge sensation in the star field. Jian Wushuang was bound to replace Demon Monarch Ancient Knight as the acknowledged strongest expert in the star field. With this battle as a background, Ancient Knight Demon Palace would naturally not be enemies with Star Palace in the future. When Jian Wushuang sent a message to Xian God and the others, he told them that he would go to Crimson Stone Mountain for a period of time. He told them not to worry because he would not be in any danger this time. Taoist Xian God and the others were also more at ease. Jian Wushuang sent a message to his wife, Lung Rushuang. After obtaining her consent, he set foot into Crimson Stone Mountain. In the depths of Crimson Stone Mountain, Blood Sword Master, I ran out from here. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight led Jian Wushuang to the place where the bloodstones were piled up. In the middle of the pile of bloodstones was a layer of great magic formation. The magic formation was so profound that Jian Wushuang could not understand it at first glance. This magic formation should lead to the first level of the Eternal Dark Prison. I was able to escape from the Eternal Dark Prison because I happened to notice a space crack nearby. I immediately seized the opportunity to escape. When I walked out of the magic formation, I met a ruler of your star field, Master Horn. I've searched through the memories of this horned serpent ruler. He discovered this array 160,000 years ago, and he's been studying it ever since. It took him a great deal of effort to find a flaw in the array before he was able to barely open a crack that connected to the first level of the Eternal Prison. However, not long after the crack appeared, it repaired itself. Therefore, even if I wanted to return to the Eternal Prison now, I wouldn't be able to. Blood Sword Master, you are an inner disciple of the Red Cloud lineage. You have the token of an inner disciple. I don't know if you can open it and enter the Eternal Dark Prison, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight said. I don't know, but I can try. Jian Wushuang smiled and took out the token of an inner disciple of the Red Cloud lineage. As soon as the token appeared, Jian Wushuang immediately found that it was connected to the array in front of him. With a thought, the array started to operate slowly. Not long after, a complete spatial passage slowly appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Ha ha! It seems that the token of an inner disciple can indeed open the spatial passage into Eternal Darkness Prison. Jian Wushuang laughed. Blood Sword Master, there are many experts in Eternal Darkness Prison, especially those who have terrifying means. Although you have the token of an inner disciple, you must not be careless. Otherwise, some sudden attacks can kill you without you noticing at all. You won't even have the chance to use the token to mobilize the power of the array, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight said. I know. Thank you for reminding me. Jian Wushuang nodded. In addition, Star Demon Ancestor, Demon Monarch Ancient Knight continued. Don't worry. I will fulfill my promise for you. Jian Wushuang smiled and stepped into the space passage. The sky of the eternal dark prison was gray, and there was not a single bit of light. The fate of the prisoners who were imprisoned in the eternal dark prison had almost been determined from the moment they were imprisoned in the eternal dark prison. Perhaps 1 or 2 lucky prisoners would be released when the Red Cloud faction was still in its heyday. But ever since the Red Cloud faction was destroyed and the eternal dark prison was abandoned in Crimson Stone Mountain, the prisoners in the eternal dark prison would never see the light of day again. A spatial passage suddenly appeared in the void, and Jian Wushuang slowly stepped out of it. After he walked out of the spatial passage immediately disappeared. However, the token of the inner disciple was in Jian Wushuang's hand. With this token, Jian Wushuang could open a spatial passage and leave this place. Is this the first level of eternal dark prison? Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked around. What he saw was an endless void and land. The whole land was black and green, lifeless and barren. Standing in the void of eternal dark prison, Jian Wushuang could only feel the existence of the laws of heaven and earth. Even the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was much thinner than the outside world. Lord Wu is right. Eternal Darkness Prison doesn't have a cultivation environment at all. If ordinary first-level or second-level rulers are imprisoned in this first-level space, they can barely reach the third-level elementary master level. I'm afraid they won't be able to improve any further. Jian Wushuang sighed quietly. In the vast universe, the closer to the center, the better the cultivation conditions were. The star field Jian Wushuang was in was at the edge of the universe, so the cultivation environment should be terrible compared to other places in the universe. However, the Eternal Dark Prison's cultivation environment was dozens or even hundreds of times worse than his star field. In such an environment, even those rulers with some talent could not improve their strength much. According to Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, he had been wandering in the 9th dark area of the Magic Dragon field on the first level. Later, Master Horn had barely opened a crack in the first level of Eternal Dark Prison. He seized the opportunity and escaped immediately. In other words, the place where the array is connected to Crimson Stone Mountain should be the 9th dark area of the Magic Dragon field, which is where I am now, Jian Wushuang thought. He had learned some basic information about the first level of Eternal Dark Prison from Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. The first level of Eternal Dark Prison was vast, even larger than a star world. There were 8 domains in the first level. The 8 domains referred to the 8 huge territories in the first level. They occupied most of the first level and gathered the most experts. As for the remaining territories, the environment was even worse. Basically, no prisoners were willing to go there. And the number of prisoners in the Eternal Prison was more than trillions. Among these trillions of prisoners, after countless battles, some of the top experts were gradually created. In the entire first level of the Eternal Prison, there were a total of 10 recognized super experts who stood at the top. These 10 people were known as the 10 Great Kings. 8 of the 10 kings occupied a region and became the lords of this region. Even the name of this region was named by this king. For example, Jian Wushuang was now in the Magic Dragon Field, which was the territory occupied by the Magic Dragon Lord. Although the Magic Dragon Lord has only reached the threshold of a third-level ruler by fusing 6 rules, his secret skills and methods are very impressive. His understanding of Tao, including his ultimate moves, are extremely terrifying. Although he is only a third-level primary ruler, his battle strength is even stronger than that of an ordinary third-level advanced ruler. Jian Wushuang recalled what Demon Monarch Ancient Knight said. The Demon Dragon Lord, as well as the other 9 monarchs, were all extremely powerful. They were absolutely invincible in the first level of the Eternal Prison, except for the battles between the 10 monarchs. The countless prisoners on the first level, including many rulers who had reached the third level, were all weaker than the 10 monarchs. There are another 108 dark zones within the Fiend Dragon domain. Each dark zone has quite a few experts. For example, the 9th dark prison I'm currently in has more than 100,000 prisoners. Although most of them are at the peak of the 2nd level, there are still more than 1,000 3rd-level prisoners. The 5 most powerful ones are Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch, 9 Torture Emperor, Bloodbow King, Saber Vault, and Blood Rain Demon Monarch. Demon Monarch Ancient Knight had spent more than 10 chaos cycles in the 9th Dark Zone. He knew all of the experts in the 9th Dark Zone like the back of his hand. Although the 5 strongest of them were still quite a bit weaker than Lord Fiend Dragon, they were still much stronger than the other prisoners. According to Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, with his life-saving ability, he was not afraid of any of the thousands of 3rd-level rulers in the 9th Dark Zone and could escape. However, any one of the 5 strongest experts in the 9th Dark Zone could kill him. The 5 strongest existences in the 9th Dark Zone are probably close to the 3rd-level Advanced Ruler level, Jian Wushuang side. In terms of combat strength, he was only on par with Demon Monarch Ancient Knight and should be at the peak of the 2nd level. This was under the premise that he used a rule treasure. As for the 3rd-level ruler, he was definitely stronger than him. Therefore, there were many people who were stronger than him in the 1st level of Eternal Dark Prison. There were many people who were stronger than him in the 9th Dark area of the Magic Dragon Field. Of course, even if they were stronger than him, he was an inner disciple of the Red Cloud lineage and could mobilize the rules of Eternal Dark Prison. Therefore, he had been invincible from the beginning. I came to Eternal Dark Prison for training to a large extent. There are so many experts in Eternal Dark Prison and so many secret manuals in the branch. I wonder who the first expert I will meet in Eternal Dark Prison will be. Jian Wushuang had a trace of expectation in his heart. He immediately flew through the gray void. At the same time, his soul power at this moment did not hold back, directly spread. Although the cultivation environment in the Eternal Dark Prison was extremely harsh, it did not restrict the soul power of a cultivator. It was similar to the Red Cloud world. When Jian Wushuang released all of his soul power, it could cover an area of 100,000 miles. There is no one within 100,000 miles. Jian Wushuang shook his head. He did not care and continued to move forward. Half a day later, finally, there's someone. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He could sense a strong aura within the range of his soul power. This aura was not much weaker than Demon Monarch Ancient Knights. A figure rose up from the ground not far from Jian Wushuang and looked at Jian Wushuang. How dare he use his soul power to investigate? Is he one of the 5 strongest experts in the 9th Dark Zone or one of the top 1,000 3rd-level masters? But judging from his soul power, he doesn't seem to be very strong. The 2-meter-tall man in cyan armor with wings on his back frowned and hesitated. In the Eternal Dark Prison, killing was too crazy. Countless prisoners had to kill others to get their treasures so that they could increase their own strength so that they could survive more easily. It was because of this that most of the prisoners, other than those who were extremely powerful and had absolute confidence, most of them were very careful. Few people dared to release their soul power and investigate the surrounding scenes. Therefore, when he sensed Jian Wushuang's soul power sweeping toward him, the cold man with wings on his back immediately thought of escaping. However, Jian Wushuang's soul power suddenly appeared in his mind. It was not strong. In fact, it could even be said that it was relatively weak. If he was really a top existence among the prisoners, his soul power should not be so weak. In any case, as long as I don't meet the 5 strongest experts, even if there are thousands of top existences among the 3rd-level masters, I can easily survive. Let's go and see. The cold man with wings made up his mind and slowly approached his opponent. Soon, Jian Wushuang appeared in the cold man's sight. He looked so young with a divine sword on his back. I've never seen him before. He doesn't seem to exist among the experts in the 9th Dark Zone. The cold man frowned and stared at Jian Wushuang. And the divine power aura on his body. Principal's Master? It's just the divine power aura of Principal's Master. The cold man was shocked. There were hundreds of millions of prisoners in the 1st level of Eternal Dark Prison. Anyone who survived hundreds of chaos cycles was extremely powerful. The lowest level was at the peak of the 2nd level. Ordinary 1st level and 2nd level rulers would die in Eternal Dark Prison. It would not be long before they died there. First level and even second level rulers were the same. But a mere principal's masters had actually come to the eternal dark prison? Did he use some secret technique to hide his divine power aura so that I couldn't break it? Or is he a principal's masters himself? The cold-looking man could not be sure, but his gaze quickly turned cold. Humph, I don't care if he's a principal's master or not. I can confirm that he's not one of the 5 strongest in the 9th dark zone. In that case, I have nothing to fear. The cold man spread his wings and turned into a black stream of light, appearing in front of Jian Wushuang at lightning speed. Is this the first opponent I've encountered since I came to the eternal dark prison? Jian Wushuang stared at the cold man with a faint smile and said, with wings on his back and an extremely cold aura, he must be the CE ruler from the Flood Dragon Wings clan. Jian Wushuang had a very detailed information on the experts given by Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. More than 90% of the prisoners in the 9th dark area were recorded in it. The CE ruler in front of him was naturally in the information on the experts. According to the information given by Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, Lord CE was the weakest among the prisoners in the 9th dark zone. In terms of close combat, his overall combat strength was just at the peak of the 2nd level. However, his life-saving skills were very good. He was slightly stronger than Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. Because of this, he was able to survive in the eternal dark prison. Who are you? I've been wandering in the 9th dark area for a long time. I've seen or know most of the experts in the 9th dark area, but I've never heard of you. Lord CE stared at Jian Wushuang. My name is Bloodsword. I just came to the magic dragon field not long ago. Of course, you don't know me, Jian Wushuang said. So you're an expert from another field. Lord CE nodded secretly. The first level of the eternal prison was simply too vast. There were countless prisoners who were still alive, and some of them loved to roam about, moving from one major region to another. Ruler Flood Dragon Wing had been adventuring in the 9th dark region of the Fiend Dragon region. He knew a bit about the experts of the 9th dark region, as well as the other dark regions of the Fiend Dragon region. However, aside from the Fiend Dragon region, he didn't know much about the experts of the other major regions. Bloodsword, are you a ruler or a principal's masters? He asked. Won't you find out after a fight with me? Jian Wushuang smiled. Humph, then die. He did not waste any more words. A jet-black light suddenly flashed on his body, and the wings on his back suddenly contracted. He had originally looked like a human cultivator, but in the blink of an eye, he turned into a huge monster with wings. Screech! A shrill screech sounded. Accompanied by the sound wave attack, the screech immediately rushed into Jian Wushuang's soul sea. This should be Master Si Yi's original body. Jian Wushuang's eyes focused. He revealed his original body at the beginning and used the strongest killing move. It seems that the cultivators in Eternal Darkness Prison are not soft-hearted. Jian Wushuang's divine power surged. He would not slowly test out Master CE like he did with the Demon Monarch Ancient Knight in the Ancient Knight Demon Palace. Master CE went all out as soon as he made his move. Naturally, Jian Wushuang unleashed his strongest battle strength in an instant. He even used the Wu Weeping Divine Sword, which was a principal's supreme treasure, on his weapon. The trace of universe principle that Jian Wushuang had comprehended also merged into his swordsmanship. Whoosh! Whoosh! The monster turned into Lord CE was extremely fast. In a flash, it had appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang stabbed out with a burst of divine power through his arm, creating a flash in the air. However, he turned around and dodged the attack nimbly. The moment he turned around, the pair of wings on his back suddenly turned into a terrifying sharp blade. Cutting through the air mercilessly, 2 layers of saber lights slashed toward Jian Wushuang's head. The wings turned into a saber? And it's so fast. Jian Wushuang was shocked. It was indeed unexpected, but his reaction was not slow. Get out of my way. Jian Wushuang held the Wu Qi Divine Sword in his hand and activated the universe principle contained in the sword. In an instant, he swung the sword down with great power. Clang! The sword light with terrifying power hit the wings of the CE ruler at the same time, making a metallic sound. The CE ruler felt a sharp pain on his wings, but he quickly retreated. After he retreated to the surrounding void, the CE ruler could not help looking at his wings. He saw that there was a gap where Jian Wushuang's sword had collided with his. Blood was flowing out of the gap. How is this possible? A trace of horror flashed in the eyes of the CE ruler. This pair of wings is the hardest part of my Flood Dragon Wings clan. I have tempered this pair of wings so that it can be comparable to a supreme treasure. I have been in the eternal dark prison for many years and fought with people countless times. I don't know how many times I have used this pair of wings to fight my enemies, whether it was to defend against their attacks or to collide head-on with their magic weapons. My wings have never suffered any damage. But now, my wings are injured after just one expansion. In his shock, he could not help but look at the divine sword in Jian Wushuang's hand. What level is the divine sword in your hand? Asked Master Ce. You'll know after you try it a few more times with your wings. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and then rushed forward. Swish, 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 swish. One after another, powerful sword lights were released from Jian Wushuang's hands, covering Master Ce in front of him. Master Ce moved his body and relied on his movement skills to pass through the sword lights. After breaking through the seal of the sword lights, he turned into a black lightning and rushed toward Jian Wushuang. Lord Ce did not believe him. This time, he used his wings to attack again. This time, he only used one wing, but it was the strongest saber skill he had created after traveling in the eternal dark prison for so many years. Die! Lord Ce also let out a low growl. This growl was accompanied by a sound wave attack that crazily attacked Jian Wushuang's soul and consciousness. However, Jian Wushuang was a perfect creature. In terms of soul, unless it was an attack that ignored the soul and directly targeted the consciousness, it was ineffective. This sound wave attack could not affect Jian Wushuang at all. Jian Wushuang still waved the long sword in his hand, but this time, he used a vague move. Whoosh! The vague sword shadow attacked, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a fog that filled the sky. However, there was a chilling light flashing in the fog. Clang! It was another fierce collision. This time, the CE ruler found that the pain on his wings was more intense, and the gap between his wings and the sword was bigger. He retreated again. But this time, he felt the real power of the divine sword in Jian Wushuang's hand at a close distance. It's a rule supreme treasure. The sword in your hand is a rule supreme treasure. Master Ce's voice was shrill with unprecedented shock. Rule Supreme Treasure was definitely a legendary treasure in the first level of Eternal Darkness Prison. Even the 10 supreme rulers recognized in the first level of Eternal Darkness Prison did not have a principal supreme treasure in their hands, let alone an ordinary prisoner ruler, does not necessarily have the law of the treasure. But now, in front of this do not know where to come out of, just give off the aura of the Lord of the Rules, actually have the law of the treasure? No wonder his wings were damaged when they collided with his sword. No matter how hard his wings were, they were only comparable to supreme true treasures. How could they compare to principle's true treasures? Not only does he have law supreme treasures, but his swordsmanship seems to contain a trace of supreme universe principle. His swordsmanship is also extremely powerful. In terms of battle strength, he is definitely stronger than me. Master Ce understood. He did not care that Jian Wushuang had comprehended a trace of universe principle. Having roamed in the eternal dark prison for so long, he knew the dangers of the eternal dark prison. The moment he knew that the person in front of him had strong battle strength and was stronger than him, he had already made a decision. Run! Master Ce did not hesitate at all. When he saw that the situation was bad, he immediately ran away. This was the life-saving method in the eternal dark prison. The huge monster that Master Ce had transformed into suddenly shrank in size, but its speed was extraordinary. Its speed was much faster than that of an ordinary second-level ruler, even faster than an ordinary third-level master. One moment, Master Ce was fighting Jian Wushuang, and the next moment, he had fled thousands of miles away, leaving Jian Wushuang no room to pursue him. Such speed. No wonder Master Ce could survive in the eternal dark prison at such a speed. I'm afraid that most third-level masters would be helpless against him. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He did not chase after him when he saw him running away. Even if he did, he would not be able to catch up with him. However, if he wanted to kill him in the eternal dark prison, he would not be able to escape even if he was 10 or 100 times faster. Master Ce, you'd better stay, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. With a flip of his palm, a special token appeared in his hand. Although Master Ce was running away, he had been paying attention to Jian Wushuang's movements. When he found that Jian Wushuang was standing there and did not intend to chase after him, he was secretly relieved. Suddenly, he heard Jian Wushuang's laughter and saw Jian Wushuang take out an item. What did Blood Sword take out? Master Ce stared at the object in Jian Wushuang's hand. He could see that it was a token. But this token shocked him. A disciple token of the Red Cloud lineage? No, that's impossible. Ruler Flooddragon Wing was absolutely furious. He had committed a monstrous sin in the God Kingdom of the Red Cloud lineage, and a disciple of the Red Cloud lineage had personally imprisoned him within the eternal prison. How could he not recognize a disciple token of the Red Cloud lineage? However, the members of the Red Cloud lineage had not visited the eternal prison for more than 100 chaos cycles. The eternal prison had not imprisoned any new members for more than 100 chaos cycles. This caused a rumor to spread throughout the eternal prison. It was said that the Red Cloud lineage had been completely destroyed, and that the eternal prison had long since been abandoned. After so many years, the prisoners of the eternal prison had long ago become convinced of this rumor. However, Ruler Ce had never imagined that the person in front of him would actually possess a Red Cloud disciple token. He was actually a Red Cloud disciple? What was even more shocking and furious was that he knew of the privileges of being a Red Cloud disciple in the eternal dark prison. Given his life-saving methods, as long as he did not run into the 5 most powerful experts in the 9th Dark Zone, he should be fine. However, no matter how strong his life-saving skills were, they were completely useless in the hands of the disciples of the Red Cloud lineage. As expected, Jian Wushuang made a move directly. With the token of an inner disciple in his hand, Jian Wushuang guided a trace of the power of the eternal dark prison formation. Suddenly, the world around them began to shake, and then a terrifying power descended and directly affected Ruler Ce. Ruler Ce, who was frantically running away, stopped on the spot. Then, his entire body seemed to be crushed by the power of the formation and fell directly to the ground. Finally, he fell heavily to the ground and lay there. He could not move at all. Ruler Ce. Jian Wushuang's figure finally rushed over. You're not a prisoner from another region. You're from the outside world. You're a genius disciple of the Red Cloud lineage. Ruler Ce raised his head with difficulty. His face was filled with shock, anger, and hatred, as well as despair. He had been imprisoned in the eternal dark prison for more than 100 chaos cycles. Naturally, he was filled with hatred toward the Red Cloud lineage. He had thought that the Red Cloud lineage had been destroyed. But now it seemed that this was not the case. Now, he was being suppressed by the power of the array activated by the Red Cloud lineage's disciple token. His life and death were in the hands of the other party. How could he not feel despair at such a scene? Lord Ce, I will give you 2 choices. Jian Wushuang looked at Lord Ce calmly. The first choice is to submit to me for 100,000 years. Not only can I spare your life, but I can also take you out of the eternal dark prison and free you from your status as a prisoner. After 100,000 years, you will be free. The universe is so big that you can go anywhere you want, Jian Wushuang said. The reason why it was only 100,000 years instead of millions or tens of millions of years was that Jian Wushuang could relax his conditions. After all, in his opinion, Devil Cloudstar was a huge threat to the divine beginning realm. Within 100,000 years, the army of Devil Cloudstar would definitely arrive, and the battle between the divine beginning realm and Devil Cloudstar would definitely be decided. If the divine beginning realm was defeated, then he would probably die too. If the divine beginning realm won, he would be able to travel deeper into the universe in peace. It did not matter whether the prisoners followed him or not. Therefore, the time limit of 100,000 or 1 million years was no different. Submit to you? Master Ce stared at Jian Wushuang. Of course, your strength is not much weaker than mine. In the eternal dark prison, as a disciple of the Red Cloud lineage, I can suppress you with the help of the eternal dark prison formation. However, once you leave the eternal dark prison with your ability, you can leave at any time. I can't stop you. So, just in case, I want to leave a mark in your soul origin, Jian Wushuang said. By leaving a soul mark in the opponent's soul origin, he could easily control the opponent's life and death. Unless he had a perfect life level like Jian Wushuang, where his soul could be immediately restored, he could easily destroy the opponent's soul with a thought. What's the second way? Asked Lord Ce. The second way, no matter how you choose, is a dead end, Jian Wushuang said directly. Ha ha! Lord Ce laughed crazily with endless coldness. Blood Sword, you're underestimating me. I'm from the Flood Dragon Wings clan, and we have never been afraid of death. You want me to submit to you, or even leave a mark on my soul origin, so that you can control my life and death from now on. That's a fool's dream. Don't mention that you're a disciple of the Red Cloud lineage and have a deep hatred for me. Even if you're not from the Red Cloud lineage and have no grudges with me, I will never hand over my life and death to you in order to survive. Master Ce, you have to think carefully. After all, it's only 100,000 years. Jian Wushuang frowned and wanted to persuade him. Haha, not to mention 100,000 years. Even if it's only a year or a day, I won't allow it. I have been in the eternal dark prison for so long and have seen everything. I don't care about my own life and death. You, a bastard from the Red Cloud lineage, want me to submit to you? Dream on. Ha ha. Master Ce laughed crazily, and his eyes suddenly turned scarlet. Jian Wushuang immediately found that the divine power in his body was violently surging. Soul burning. Jian Wushuang's expression changed, and he quickly controlled the power of the eternal prison formation to suppress it. However, Jian Wushuang could only suppress Master Ce's actions, but he could not stop the divine power and soul of Master Ce. Ah! Lord Ce began to absorb the divine power and soul of Lord Ce in pain. His soul was burning crazily at a speed of 100 times or 1,000 times. In just a moment, his soul was completely burned out, and Lord Ce's life was completely cut off. He's dead. He would rather burn his soul to commit suicide than submit to me. Jian Wushuang frowned. He thought he had relaxed his requirements. As long as the other party submitted to him for 100,000 years, he would be able to take him out of the eternal dark prison and no longer have to live the life of a prisoner. Master Ce should have agreed. But in the end, Master Ce died. He would rather commit suicide than submit. It seems that the prisoners in the eternal dark prison are not as easy to subdue as I thought. Jian Wushuang looked serious. He came to the eternal dark prison for two purposes. The first was to train himself and improve his strength. The second was to subdue as many experts as possible in the eternal dark prison. He could take them out of the eternal dark prison and fight for the divine beginning realm. Jian Wushuang's idea was very good, and the conditions for the 100,000-year time limit were not high. But in fact, most experts in the universe could not accept that the other party would leave a mark on their soul origin. Because it was completely leaving their life and death in the other party's hands, they would naturally not dare to disobey the other party's orders in the future. Although Jian Wushuang had only promised for 100,000 years, what if he kept his promise? Since his soul brand had been left behind, so what if Jian Wushuang continued to trend toward them in the future? They also did not dare to resist. Compared to the days when they were completely controlled by the other party and reduced to puppets, these prisoners preferred to stay in the eternal dark prison. Even if there was no daylight and they were crazy, they would rather die. They did not want to become such puppets. Moreover, the most important reason was Jian Wushuang's identity and strength. If Jian Wushuang was a real expert, he did not need to be very strong. As long as he had the absolute strength of the 10 kings in the first level and could crush all the prisoners and force them to submit, these prisoners would probably be willing. After all, they were impressed by his strength. However, Jian Wushuang was different. His strength was not much stronger than that of Master Ce. He only relied on the token of a disciple of the Red Cloud lineage to suppress the other party, so he could not convince the other party. Moreover, the prisoners in the Eternal Dark Prison were all imprisoned by the Red Cloud lineage. These prisoners had been in the Eternal Dark Prison for hundreds of chaos cycles, and they hated the Red Jade bloodline to the extreme. It was even more difficult for Jian Wushuang to subdue them as a disciple of the Red Cloud bloodline. Although he knew that it would be very difficult to subdue them, Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry. After all, this was only the first prisoner he had encountered. There were countless prisoners in the Eternal Dark Prison, and not everyone would rather die than submit like Master Ce. I came to the Eternal Dark Prison mainly for training and to improve my strength. As for subduing the experts, I'm not in a hurry. I can take my time. If I encounter those prisoners again, unless they are too strong and force me to mobilize the power of the array to save my life, I'd better not mobilize the power of the array. After all, if I mobilize the power of the array frequently, it will cause a bit of a stir. I'm afraid that others will soon have me, a disciple of the Red Cloud lineage, wandering in the Eternal Dark Prison, and the news will spread. In the future, I won't have such an easy time wandering in the Eternal Dark Prison, Jian Wushuang thought. He had made up his mind to focus on training and subduing the experts first. As for subduing the experts, he would do so when he was done with his training. With the death of Lord Ce, his corpse and interspatial ring were left behind. Jian Wushuang first took away Lord Ce's interspatial ring and began to investigate with his consciousness. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up. Lord Ce has been trapped in the Eternal Dark Prison for hundreds of chaos cycles. He must have killed many of them. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many supreme treasures in his interspatial ring, Jian Wushuang said with a sigh. He scanned it with his consciousness and found that there were more than 20 supreme treasures in Lord Ce's interspatial ring. There were supreme treasures such as armor, domain, suppression, and so on. Although there were no supreme treasures at the supreme level, they were still very powerful, they were still very impressive. And they were only supreme true treasures. As for those top-tier and pinnacle true treasures, there were countless of them. The prisoners in the Eternal Dark Prison are actually so rich? Jian Wushuang was also amazed. They were indeed a little too rich. Lord Ce was among the living prisoners in the first level. He was at the bottom. The reason why he could survive was mainly because of his strong life-saving ability. However, he probably did not kill many prisoners himself, however. He still had more than 20 supreme treasures. If he killed those stronger prisoners, Jian Wushuang would definitely gain more. By the way, Lord Ce's wings are also a good treasure. Jian Wushuang took a look at Lord Ce's corpse and waved his hand to cut off his wings and put them away. Then he continued to explore the surrounding void. There were more than 100,000 prisoners in the 9th dark area, and the branches were extremely dense. Jian Wushuang released his soul power and scrupulously to explore the 9th dark area, so it was easy for him to meet other prisoners. For hours after Lord Ce died, Jian Wushuang met another prisoner. This prisoner was a level stronger than Lord Ce and was on par with Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. After the encounter, the two exchanged blows without a word. Jian Wushuang instantly used his peak battle strength to fight with him. It should be known that if Jian Wushuang used his full strength, he could barely beat Demon Monarch Ancient Knight by relying on his rule treasure and his swordsmanship. The prisoner Jian Wushuang met now had the same battle strength as Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, but he was slightly weaker than Demon Monarch Ancient Knight in close combat. At first, they were evenly matched, but Jian Wushuang gradually suppressed him. Knowing that he was no match for Jian Wushuang, the prisoner left with a look of amazement. This time, Jian Wushuang did not use the power of the magic formation to keep him, but continued to explore. In a flash, Jian Wushuang had been in the Eternal Dark Prison for 13 days. During these 13 days, he had encountered a total of 18 people, but only 12 people actually fought with him. The other 6 people were extremely cautious when they found that Jian Wushuang dared to release his soul power to explore. Although they could tell that Jian Wushuang's soul power was not very strong, they still stayed far away from him and did not meet him. The 12 people who fought Jian Wushuang were all at the peak of the 2nd level. The weakest one was about the same level as Master Ce, and the stronger one was slightly stronger than Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, however, except for Master Ce who died at the beginning. The other 11 people who fought Jian Wushuang realized that they could not do anything to him and chose to leave. But today, Jian Wushuang encountered the 19th master, who had reached the 3rd level. His name was Deer Bug Demon Ancestor. Deer Bug Demon Ancestor is an ordinary master among the thousands of 3rd-level masters in the 9th Dark Zone. He has strong body protection ability, but his close-range killing ability is relatively average. He has the most powerful domain-type supreme treasure, the Thousand Shuttle World, which has a strong suppression effect. He was able to retreat easily when facing 9 Torture Emperor, one of the 5 strongest masters in the 9th Dark Zone. Jian Wushuang looked at the man in blood-red clothes in front of him with a hint of excitement in his eyes. Jian Wushuang had been in the Eternal Dark Prison for 13 days and had encountered 18 prisoners along the way. All of them were masters at the peak of the 2nd level and masters at the 3rd level. Deerbug Demon Ancestor was the 1st. I came to the Eternal Dark Prison to train and fight with stronger experts. Although a master at the level of Demon Monarch Ancient Knight is strong, he can't really put too much pressure on me. As a master at the 3rd level, Deerbug Demon Ancestor should be much stronger than Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. He is a suitable opponent. Jian Wushuang was looking forward to it. Principal's Master? While Jian Wushuang was looking at Deerbug Demon Ancestor, the handsome and cold Deerbug Demon Ancestor was also sizing him up. The Eternal Dark Prison usually holds 1st level or 2nd level rulers. After hundreds of chaos cycles, these masters have either died in a crazy battle or their strength has increased. All of them have reached the top level of the 2nd level. Even if a few of them haven't reached it, their life-saving abilities must be extremely strong. But why is there a Principal's Master in the Eternal Dark Prison? Could it be that he deliberately concealed his divine power aura, and his secret skill is so brilliant that even I can't see through it? Deerbug Demon Ancestor frowned. Deerbug Demon Ancestor, do you want to fight me? Jian Wushuang looked at Deerbug Demon Ancestor. Your Excellency, most of the prisoners in the Eternal Dark Prison know everything about you. Although I can't recognize you, you must be very strong to be able to survive in the Eternal Dark Prison until now. There's no need for you to deliberately hide your divine power aura and pretend to be a Principal's Master to fool us. Right? Deerbug Demon Ancestor said coldly. Disguise? Jian Wushuang laughed. Deerbug Demon Ancestor, you don't have to waste your breath. Either fight me or get out of my sight. I won't make things difficult for you. Arrogant. Deerbug Demon Ancestor's voice turned cold. Even the 5 strongest experts in the 9th Dark Zone are not qualified to make me disappear. Who do you think you are? I'd like to see how you are qualified to say that. I also want to know how strong your deer insect demon ancestor is. Jian Wushuang smiled, but his body had already floated forward. Jian Wushuang attacked directly, and he was the first to attack. However, at the moment when he moved, a stream of cyan light suddenly swept out in all directions. Each stream of cyan light was extremely dazzling and emitted a unique aura. In the blink of an eye, it condensed into a huge shuttle that covered the heaven and earth void. Jian Wushuang immediately felt a powerful oppressive and binding force on his body, causing his body to sink. Is it the Thousand Shuttle World? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. The Thousand Shuttle World was one of the supreme grade domain-type supreme treasures, and it was also one of the most powerful supreme grade supreme treasures in Deer Insect Demon Ancestor's possession. It was said that Deer Insect Demon Ancestor had 2 supreme grade supreme treasures in his possession. One was the Thousand Shuttle World, and the other was the armor he wore. As for his offensive magic weapon, it had not reached the supreme grade level yet. Haha! Let's see whose domain is stronger. Jian Wushuang laughed heartily. As soon as he finished his words, a large amount of black magic light swept out. The power of the triple magic light mirror also burst out. In terms of the level of supreme treasures, the triple magic light mirror was also the strongest supreme grade supreme treasure. It was no weaker than Deerbug Demon Ancestor's Thousand Shuttle World. Deerbug Demon Ancestor was naturally stronger in terms of divine power and domain. However, Jian Wushuang had comprehended a trace of the universe principle. The power of the magic light domain he had activated was also stronger. The two madly attacked each other and formed a domain within a short period of time. You have such a powerful domain-type supreme treasure? Dear Bug Demon Ancestor looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. I have more than that. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, and a large amount of dark light spread out from the pair of huge wings on his back. He used the celestial light wings and the magic light domain. The magic light domain was also a domain-type technique, and it was also controlled by Jian Wushuang. Under Jian Wushuang's control, the magic light domain immediately combined with the magic light domain, and the power of the magic light domain instantly skyrocketed. Rumble! The realm soared into the sky, forming an ocean of surging domain. It crazily rushed toward Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's Thousand Shuttle World. The Thousand Shuttle World, which was comparable to the magic light realm just now, was greatly impacted at this moment. The entire realm began to retreat. What? Dear Bug Demon Ancestor was shocked and frowned at Jian Wushuang. Dear Bug has been in the eternal dark prison for many years. I have fought with countless masters in the second or even the third level. However, in the process of fighting with these masters, I have suppressed most of them, and only a few of them can compete with my domain. As for those who have suppressed my domain head-on, you are the third one in a long time. However, the realm is only an auxiliary skill. Your realm is strong, but I don't know if your battle strength is the same. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's voice was cold. A purple shuttle appeared in his right hand, and surging divine power gathered on the surface of his body. Kill! With a low shout, Dear Bug Demon Ancestor moved his body and appeared directly in front of Jian Wushuang. Even though he was suppressed by the magic light domain as a third-level ruler, the suppression effect of the domain was not very strong. He could still exert more than 90% of his battle strength. Swish! A shrill sound broke through the air. The long shuttle in Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's hand suddenly turned into a purple streak. The purple streak was so dazzling that it appeared in front of Jian Wushuang almost in an instant. So fast! Jian Wushuang was surprised. The Dear Bug Demon Clan's long shuttle was suppressed by his domain, but it was still so fast. The battle strength of a third-level ruler was indeed extraordinary. Jian Wushuang immediately attacked. The Wuxia divine sword in his hand let out a faint sword hum. He suddenly waved the divine sword, causing the space to intersect. The sword light rushed out and directly chopped at the long shuttle. The long shuttle shook slightly, but it immediately produced a special force. It actually rippled and swept toward Jian Wushuang like a black hole that devoured the world. Break! Jian Wushuang shouted in a low voice. The power of the Wuxia divine sword was fully displayed, and a hazy sword shadow instantly attacked. The strongest sword skill Jian Wushuang created. Hazy. The power of the sword shadow burst out, and the black hole suddenly shrank and then disappeared. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor raised his head and looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. A principle's treasure? You have comprehended a trace of the universe's principles. At this moment, a huge wave had been stirred up in Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's heart, but he immediately calmed down. If I kill you, this principal treasure will be mine. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's killing intense sword. The long shuttle in his hand turned into sharp purple electric arcs at this moment. Whoosh! 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 It was so fast that no one could see it clearly. The purple electric arcs directly attacked Jian Wushuang's head. Jian Wushuang also waved the Wuxia divine sword in his hand. In terms of swordsmanship speed, he was not inferior to the long shuttle at all. However, Jian Wushuang was only a principle's master. He relied on his perfect life level and many secret skills to perform. In terms of power, he was only at the threshold of a master at the peak of the second level. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor, on the other hand, was a master at the third level. In terms of divine power, he was much stronger than Jian Wushuang. Clang! 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 After only a few collisions, Jian Wushuang was completely crushed. He looked quite miserable, as expected of a master at the third level. Impressive! Jian Wushuang exclaimed, but the excitement in his eyes did not diminish. With such strength, I can use it to test out that move. Jian Wushuang took the initiative to attack. Whoosh! Whoosh! Streams of sword essence swept out like waves. In an instant, the void in front of him seemed to have sunk into an endless sea. Countless waves spread out in layers, never ending. Sometimes the waves were violent, rolling up huge waves. Sometimes they were gentle, like a spring breeze. Sometimes they were vast and mighty, like thousands of soldiers and horses galloping out. The sea of sword essence surged and completely covered Deer Insect Demon Ancestor. Deer Bug Demon Ancestor did not care about Jian Wushuang's sword skill at first. He casually waved his long shuttle, which swept up astonishing power and easily defeated the incoming waves. But after defeating one wave, the second wave immediately swept over, defeated the second wave, and the third wave came again. The waves with shocking sword essence were endless. After dozens of waves came one after another. Is this swordsmanship endless? Deer Bug Demon Ancestor frowned. He also found that it was useless to blindly defeat the waves of sword essence that came from the table. He could only use his strength to completely defeat Jian Wushuang's sword move and disperse the surrounding sword essence. Purple light. Deer Bug Demon Ancestor let out a low groan, and the purple shuttle in his hand suddenly burst out with a dazzling purple light. The purple light was like a giant purple sun that appeared between heaven and earth, shining brightly. And in the center of the purple sun, an extremely terrifying power suddenly poured out. It was Deer Bug Demon Ancestor's most powerful move, Purple Light. This move was one of the reasons Deer Bug Demon Ancestor had been able to dominate the Eternal Dark Prison for hundreds of chaos cycles. Rumble. The bright purple light directly scattered the surrounding waves and destroyed more than half of the sea of sword essence in one breath. However, it did not completely destroy the sea of sword essence. Under the rolling of Jian Wushuang's divine power, the sea of sword essence that had been destroyed more than half soared into the sky again. The endless waves of sword essence continued to attack unscrupulously. What? Deer Bug Demon Ancestor's expression finally changed. How could his strongest move fail to completely break this sword skill? This sword skill was very obvious. As long as it was not broken in one breath, it could be recovered instantly. The waves were really endless. Although Deer Bug Demon Ancestor was extremely powerful and could easily break the waves that attacked him, he could only be dumbfounded in the face of the endless waves. Deer Bug Demon Ancestor immediately wanted to escape from the sea of sword essence, but the sea of sword essence swept out from all directions with him as its core. He could not escape at all. He could only fall into the sea of sword essence and passively resist the waves. In the Red Cloud world, I created one of the most powerful sword skills, Wave Light, not to kill enemies, but to entangle and trap them. Deer Bug Demon Ancestor fell into my Wave Light sword skill. Unless he can completely defeat my sword move with overwhelming power, he can only be entangled by my sea of sword essence. A smile appeared on Jian Wushuang's face as he looked at Deer Bug Demon Ancestor, who was trying to break free from the sea of sword essence. The three strongest sword skills he had created. The most powerful was the Hazy Attack, which was used to kill enemies. The Earth Guard was a body-protecting sword skill, which was used for defense. The Light Sword skill was used to trap enemies. This move was not very destructive, but its ability to trap enemies was very impressive. Although Deer Bug Demon Ancestor was a third-level ruler, he was best at domain and body protection. As for his killing ability and killing power, they were not very strong. Now that his domain was completely suppressed by Jian Wushuang, Deer Bug Demon Ancestor could not break the Wavelight sword skill in one go. Naturally, he was trapped by Jian Wushuang's sea of sword essence. Deer Bug Demon Ancestor tried to break free in the sea of sword essence, but he could not. After a while, he finally gave up. I'm so sullen. This battle is really sullen. Deer Bug Demon Ancestor was also a little angry. While he was blocking the waves of sword essence, his eyes were locked on Jian Wushuang, who was using the Wavelight sword essence. This man is far weaker than me, but he is good at entangling people, but he is very difficult to deal with. I am weaker in offensive power, so I can't break his sword art. I know he has a principal supreme treasure, but I can't get it. Deer Bug Demon Ancestor shook his head. Sir, stop. Deer Bug Demon Ancestor suddenly said in a low voice, Stop. Jian Wushuang was stunned. What? Although I can't do anything to you, do you want to kill me with this sword skill? Dear Bug Demon Ancestor looked at Jian Wushuang coldly. Jian Wushuang smiled. Indeed, his wave light sword skill was very powerful, but it was only used to trap the enemy. As for killing Dear Bug Demon Ancestor with this sword skill, it was just a joke. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor was a third-level ruler, and he was famous for his domain and protective abilities. His protective abilities were much stronger than his offensive abilities. To kill him, even the 5 strongest experts in the 9th Dark Zone could not do it. Unless he mobilized the erase power, he definitely could not do it. Jian Wushuang could not kill Dear Bug Demon Ancestor at all. Even though his divine power was much more powerful than Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's, his sword skill, Wave Light, consumed a lot of divine power. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor was trapped in the sea of sword essence. As long as he attacked casually, he could resolve all the attacks around him, which consumed very little divine power. In this way, Jian Wushuang did not have any advantage either. Buzz! The sea of sword essence disappeared into thin air, and Jian Wushuang had already put away his Wuqi divine sword. Sir, can you tell me your name? Dear Bug Demon Ancestor put away his long shuttle and looked at Jian Wushuang calmly. My name is Bloodsword, Jian Wushuang said. Bloodsword, if I'm not mistaken, you're still just a principal's master, right? Dear Bug Demon Ancestor asked. Yes. Jian Wushuang did not deny it. If this Dear Bug Demon Ancestor had seen him in the beginning, he might have suspected that he had used a special technique to conceal his divine power aura. However, as the two sides fought with this Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's vision, naturally, he could see that Jian Wushuang had only fused 3 principles of heaven and earth. He was still far from being a ruler. Jian Wushuang did not intend to hide the fact that he was only a principal's master. I didn't expect that there would be not only a large number of prisoners at the ruler level, but also principal's masters in the first level of Eternal Darkness prison. However, you are indeed a principal's master. Not only do you have an extremely high comprehension of the origin of the Sword Principle universe, but you have also comprehended a trace of the universe principle. Your swordsmanship is also so powerful, especially the swordsmanship you displayed at the end. Even I can't do anything about it. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor also praised Jian Wushuang's strength. Although he was only a principal's master, there was no doubt that Jian Wushuang was the most heaven-defying principal's master that Dear Bug Demon Ancestor had ever seen. Thank you for the compliment. You are not weak either, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. He also recognized Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's strength. After all, what he had just witnessed was only Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's offensive ability and domain. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's most terrifying skill was his protective means. Bloodsword. Although your strength isn't weak, I still advise you to keep a low profile when you venture into the eternal prison in the future. If you cannot take action, try not to. After all, you have a nomological treasure, a treasure that even the 10 supreme monarchs are tempted by. Once people find out about it, a large number of experts will target you. Your sword art is very powerful. I can't break it, but that's only because I have a slight offensive ability. If you encounter a third-level ruler who is very good at killing, your sword art might not be effective, Dear Bug Demon Ancestor said. Thank you, Jian Wushuang said. However, my blood sword has been in the Eternal Dark Prison for hundreds of chaos cycles and has crossed 3 major domains. I'm still alive. I may not be the strongest in the Eternal Dark Prison, but there are very few people in the Eternal Dark Prison who can kill me. The confidence in Jian Wushuang's words stunned Dear Bug Demon Ancestor, and he nodded. That's right. If you didn't have a strong life-saving ability, you wouldn't have been able to survive in the Eternal Dark Prison until now. The principal's treasure wouldn't have been in your hands forever. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor obviously did not doubt Jian Wushuang's words. He did not expect that Jian Wushuang had only been in the Eternal Dark Prison for more than 10 days. As for what he said about crossing over 100 chaos cycles and 3 major domains, it was nonsense. It was just to confuse Dear Bug Demon Ancestor. However, it was true that Jian Wushuang had absolute confidence in his life-saving ability. After all, he was invincible in the Eternal Dark Prison with the token of an inner disciple of the Red Cloud lineage. In that case, I won't say any more. Goodbye. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor cupped his hands toward Jian Wushuang and left. Jian Wushuang watched Dear Bug Demon Ancestor leave, and a smile gradually appeared on his face. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor said that because he thought it would attract experts if I released my soul power to explore the Eternal Dark Prison. However, he didn't know that I came to the Eternal Dark Prison to gain experience. To me, the more experts in the Eternal Dark Prison, the better. I won't refuse anyone. Jian Wushuang was eager to fight with the top experts of Eternal Dark Prison. However, he also understood that he had to take things step by step. After all, his current battle strength was at the peak of the 2nd level. He could not defeat an ordinary master of the 3rd level, so he could only rely on the Wave Light Sword art to fight him. Dear Bug Demon Ancestor's offensive ability was relatively average. After being trapped by his Wave Light Sword art, he had no choice but to give up. However, if it was a 3rd level ruler with extremely powerful offensive power, the Wave Lightsaber technique might not have been so effective. Just now, Dear Bug Demon Ancestor used his strongest move, but he only managed to annihilate more than half of my Wave Lightsaber technique. However, he is still far from the limit that the Wave Lightsaber technique can withstand. In other words, even a 3rd level ruler who is slightly stronger than Dear Bug Demon Ancestor in offensive power might not be able to forcefully break my move. In the 9th Dark Zone, I'm afraid that only the 5 strongest masters can defeat my Light Wave Sword skill with one move. As for the top masters among the thousands of 3rd level masters, I'll have to try to see if they can defeat my Light Wave Sword skill with one move. Jian Wushuang murmured. Jian Wushuang had gained a lot from the battle with Dear Bug Demon Ancestor. He knew the gap between him and the 3rd level ruler, and he also knew how much he could bear the Wave Light Sword skill. He continued to explore the surrounding areas. He unscrupulously released his soul power, covering an area of 100,000 miles and searching for experts. Such an unscrupulous search would make it easy for him to meet and fight with those experts. Jian Wushuang did not refuse any of them. In the 9th Dark Area, he fought with prisoners and experts one by one to gain experience. In the blink of an eye, it had been 3 months since Jian Wushuang arrived at the 1st level of Eternal Dark Prison. During these 3 months, he had encountered hundreds of experts, including 6 rulers of the 3rd level. Most of these experts chose to fight with him, and there were victories and defeats. As for the 6 3rd-level rulers, Jian Wushuang was no match for them in a head-on fight. He could only rely on the Wavelight sword art to fight them. It was difficult for his opponents to do anything to him. Demon Dragon Region, 9th Dark Region. It was originally a nameless hill, but now it had been called Thousand Edge Mountain by the many prisoners in the 9th Dark Region. The reason for this was that Thousand Edge Demon Monarch, one of the 5 strongest experts in the 9th Dark Region, lived there. Unlike the prisoners who were always out fighting, Thousand Edge Demon Monarch stood at the top in the 1st level of the Eternal Dark Prison. As long as he did not provoke the 10 Supreme Lords, there was basically no danger. That was why he was able to find a place to live in for a long time. The prisoners in the 9th Dark Zone knew that this was where he lived, so they naturally did not dare to go near it. But today, a person came to Thousand Edge Mountain. Thousand Edge. A cold voice echoed throughout the entire mountain, and a figure immediately rushed out of Thousand Edge Mountain. This person had a jade-like face and emitted a faint luster. His aura was very calm, but it was still awe-inspiring. He was Thousand Edge Demon Monarch. Fiend Dragon. Why are you free to come to my place today? Thousand Edge Demon Monarch looked at Ruler Fiend Dragon with a smile on his face. Although the prisoners of the Eternal Dark Prison fought madly, some of them had formed a bond with each other during the long period of fighting. Some of them were good friends. Thousand Edge Demon Monarch had a few good friends, and this 3rd-tier Ruler Fiend Dragon was one of them. You've been living quite leisurely. Ruler Fiend Dragon could not help but sigh when he saw how relaxed Thousand Edge Demon Monarch was. Haha! I've been locked up in the Eternal Prison for the rest of my life. How could I not be relaxed? Thousand Edge Demon Monarch smiled. Fiend Dragon, it's rare for you to come here. Why don't you come into my Immortal's cave and give me a drink? No thanks. I came here because I have something to tell you. I'll leave as soon as I'm done. Ruler Fiend Dragon said. Oh, Thousand Edge was startled. What is it? Just 3 months ago, a new expert appeared in the 9th Dark Zone. Did you know about this? Ruler Fiend Dragon asked. The first level of the Eternal Prison is so vast. Our Fiend Dragon region alone has a total of 108 Dark Zones. What's so strange about an expert coming from another Dark Zone? Thousand Edge disagreed. But this person has already been in the 9th Dark region for 3 months. During this period of time, he has fought against quite a few of the prisoners in the 9th Dark region. All of them have come to the conclusion that he is merely a Principal's Masters, Ruler Fiend Dragon said. A Principal's Masters? Thousand Edge, who hadn't been surprised just a moment ago, immediately revealed a surprised look on his face. His expression grew solemn as well. Back then, the Red Cloud lineage was incomparably powerful. The divine kingdom they established was vast, and they had countless experts under their command. We were all imprisoned by the Red Cloud lineage within this eternal prison. Back then, the Red Cloud lineage imprisoned many rulers within this first dimension, but there were also some principal lords amongst them. Although 99% of these principal lords have already died, there might still be some who survived. However, the Eternal Dark Prison is incredibly savage. For a mere Principal's Master to be able to survive for over 100 chaos cycles, he must be quite talented, and his combat power shouldn't be too far off, Thousand Edge Demon Monarch said. Right? This Principal's Master is absolutely heaven-defying. Not only does he have an extremely high level of comprehension toward the Sword Dao universe origin, he has even comprehended a hint of the principles of the universe. Even in the vast universe, such talent would definitely be at the very top. He is a supreme genius that is rarely seen even in the trillions of astral worlds. Unfortunately, the Red Cloud lineage has long since been destroyed. Otherwise, given his talent, he would have long ago been released, Ruler Fiend Dragon said. The reason why the Red Cloud faction had created Eternal Dark Prison was to select some management experts for the Red Cloud faction. It was a super genius who had comprehended a trace of universe principle at the level of a Principal's Master. Of course, the Red Cloud faction would not be willing to be imprisoned here forever. Fiend Dragon, you came here specially just to tell me this? Thousand Edge Demon Monarch glanced at Ruler Fiend Dragon in confusion. Although that Principal's Master was indeed heaven-defying and dazzling, it had nothing to do with him, so it was not worth it for Ruler Fiend Dragon to come personally. Thousand Edge, you might not know this, but that Principal's Master still has a Principal's true treasure in his possession, Ruler Fiend Dragon said suddenly. What did you say? Thousand Edge Demon Monarch glared, no longer looking as relaxed as before. It's a Principal's true treasure. He's been in the 9th Dark Zone for 3 months, and he's talked to hundreds of prisoners. They can tell that the godly weapon he's using is a Principal's true treasure, and because he's already comprehended a trace of the universe principles, he can even unleash a certain amount of power from that Principal's true treasure. Also, the Principal's true treasure in his hand is a godly sword, said Fiend Dragon Ruler. A Principal true treasure godly sword? Thousand Edge Demon Monarch was completely excited. He was good at Sword Dao. The godly weapon he used was also a godly sword, but he was only using a supreme grade supreme true treasure godly sword. A Principal true treasure godly sword was his dream. Fiend Dragon, do you know the size and shape of the godly sword used by that Principal's Master? Thousand Edge Demon Monarch asked. I've asked a ruler who fought with him before. According to that ruler, the blade of the godly sword used by this Principal's Master named Bloodsword is very thin. It should be a godly sword that focuses on sharpness and is good at cutting and killing. Besides, the aura of that godly sword is extremely cold and dark. Just by looking at it with the naked eye, one's soul would be terrified, said Fiend Dragon. It's a Principal's true treasure godly sword. Thousand Edge Demon Monarch was trembling. It's cold and dark, and it's good at cutting and killing. It was perfect. That godly sword was perfect for him. It was similar to the godly sword he was using, but it was a Principal true treasure. In the first level of Eternal Dark Hell, a Principal true treasure was definitely a legendary existence. It was hard to say if even the 10 recognized supreme rulers had a principal's treasure in their hands. Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch, as one of the 5 strongest people in the 9th Dark Region, his combat power had barely reached the advanced level of the 3rd level. Compared to the 10 rulers, he was not too far behind. If he could obtain a principal's treasure that was extremely suitable for him to use his sword techniques, his combat power could easily reach the level of the 10 rulers. At that time, he would be the 11th ruler of the 1st level of the Eternal Prison. Thousand Edge, you are skilled in swordsmanship. The principal's true treasure, godly sword, in the hands of that principal's master should be suitable for you. Ruler Fiend Dragon looked over. It's more than suitable. It's practically tailor-made for me. Thousand-Edge Demon Master's eyes were filled with excitement. Fiend Dragon, how did you know about that principal's master? There's no way to use the token to communicate in the Eternal Dark Prison. I just happened to pass by Ancient Soul King's place and heard about it from him, said Fiend Dragon. The Eternal Dark Prison was a prison, so there was no way to use the token to communicate in it. Because of this, the information in the Eternal Dark Prison was very limited. It had been 3 months since Jian Wushuang came to the 9th Dark Area. But Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch only got the news now. It was a special trip by Lord Fiend Dragon. Otherwise, Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch might not have known about Jian Wushuang's existence for decades if he had stayed here. Ancient Soul King? Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch's expression changed. I heard from Ancient Soul King that he had just fought with the principal's master. Although he was much stronger than the latter, the principal's master knew how to use a unique entanglement sword skill. The sword skill was very strange, and Ancient Soul King could not break free from it. Even if he used his strongest attack, he could not break the sword skill in one breath. So he had to stop, said Lord Fiend Dragon. Ancient Soul King can't do anything to him? Thousand Edge frowned. Ancient Soul King was definitely one of the best of the thousands of 3rd-level rulers in the 9th Dark Zone. His offensive techniques were extremely formidable, and he was definitely one of the top 20 3rd-level rulers. But even Ancient Soul King, who possessed such offensive power, was not able to break through the principal's master's entangling sword art. Although Ancient Soul King was unable to break through the sword art, Ancient Soul King said that the binding sword art of the principal's master had reached its limit under his attacks. If his attacks were just a bit stronger, he would be able to break through the sword art, Ruler Fiend Dragon said. Oh! Thousand Edge's eyes instantly lit up. Haha! Ancient Soul King is just a hair's breadth away from being able to defeat that sword art. I am the most powerful of the 5 great beings in the 9th Dark Zone. If I were to attack, that principal's master's entanglement sword art wouldn't be able to stop me at all. I could completely defeat his sword art in an instant and then kill him. Yes, that's a possibility. Ruler Fiend Dragon nodded. However, this principal's master has a principal's true treasure, but he was able to survive for more than 100 chaos cycles in this eternal prison. His life-saving techniques must be extraordinary. There should be more than just this entanglement sword art, so to be on the safe side, I'll go look for Blood Rain, Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch said. Blood Rain Demon Monarch? A hint of fear and dread immediately flashed through Ruler Fiend Dragon's eyes. In the 9th Dark Zone, the 5 strongest experts each had their own techniques. For example, Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch was skilled in sword arts and was the best at attacking. As for Blood Rain Demon Monarch, she was skilled in all sorts of strange techniques. What she was most skilled in was formations. Once a formation was set up, even a 3rd-level ruler would find it difficult to escape from her formation. In the end, they would be annihilated by the power of the formation. Thus, whenever the prisoners who roamed the 9th Dark Zone saw Blood Rain, they would immediately flee. They would not give Blood Rain a chance to set up the formation. However, if Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch were to invite Blood Rain to join forces with him, they would be able to sweep through everything in the 9th Dark Zone. Blood Rain once owed me a favor. This time, I'll use this favor to ask her to help. She won't refuse, Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch said. Then I wish you success. Oh right, that principal's master has spent most of his time wandering around Ancient Soul King's area. If you manage to invite Blood Rain Demon Monarch, you can go to that area to look for him, Ruler Fiend Dragon said. Fiend Dragon, thank you for coming over to tell me this time. I'll remember this favor. When this matter is over, I'll definitely hold a banquet to thank you, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch said. Haha, a principal's supreme treasure is the most suitable one for you to use. A banquet alone won't be enough to send me away, Ruler Fiend Dragon joked. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch did not say anything more to Master Fiend Dragon. Instead, he immediately went to ask Blood Rain Demon Monarch. Jian Wushuang did not know that Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch, one of the strongest experts in the 9th Dark Zone, had set his eyes on him. Even if he knew, he would not care. He was still wandering alone in the 9th Dark Zone, fighting fiercely with the experts he encountered. Now, Jian Wushuang had met the 160th expert since he entered the Eternal Dark Prison. It was a tall, burly man wearing red armor and carrying a large saber on his back. This burly man was called Ancient Chaos Star Master. Before he was imprisoned in the Eternal Dark Prison, he should have been a Star Master of a 3rd-level astral world, and his strength was at the peak of the 2nd level. Jian Wushuang fought with Ancient Chaos Star Master. Ancient Chaos Star Master stepped forward one after another. Each step was heavy and powerful, as if he was going to shatter the void. And every time he stepped forward, the broad and thick saber in his hand was going to cut down once. Boom! The saber light was vast and boundless, as if it could split the heaven and earth. One saber followed another, cutting through the layers of obstacles in front of him. Ancient Chaos Star Master's saber technique contained 5 different kinds of principles, which were all fused together. Ancient Chaos Star Master had the highest attainments in the use of the principles of the heaven and earth, which was the principles of the earth. What a terrifying saber technique! Jian Wushuang held the Wu Qi Divine Sword in his hand and also used his swordsmanship to fight against Ancient Chaos Star Master's saber technique. However, in terms of strength and power, he was weaker than Ancient Chaos Star Master's saber technique. Jian Wushuang could barely resist Ancient Chaos Star Master's saber technique, but at the same time, he suddenly gained a lot of understanding. Close, yearning, endless life. Although Ancient Chaos Star Master has comprehended and integrated 5 principles at the same time, it's obvious that these 5 principles are based on the Earth principles. His Earth principles are like a sphere, perfectly encompassing the other 4 principles, so that they are indistinguishable from each other. This is the tolerance of the Earth cordiality. Jian Wushuang suddenly had many emotions. At the same time, in his mind, the process of merging the 4 principles he had comprehended gradually became clear. It must be known that he had completely comprehended the 4 principles very early on, and he had fused 3 of them. The only thing missing was the perfect integration of the principles of the Earth with the other 3 principles. He had stayed in the Red Cloud world for more than 10,000 years, and there were many opportunities in the Red Cloud world. One of them was the statue of Wu Shen. Wu Shen, a special life form favored by the universe, was born to fuse 9 principles and become an ultimate ruler. Although the statue of Wu Shen in the Red Cloud world was only a scale of Wu Shen, it still contained the essence of the fusion of 9 different principles. Jian Wushuang had spent a long time comprehending the statue of Wu Shen. After comprehending the Earth principles, he also had some understanding of the fusion of the Earth principles and the other 3 principles, but he had not been able to truly fuse them. But now, when he fought with Ancient Chaos Star Master, Jian Wushuang felt a lot of things from his saber techniques. This made him more and more clear about the path of the fusion of the 4 principles. Jian Wushuang even felt that he was about to completely integrate the 4 principles. But suddenly, Ancient Chaos Star Master, who was attacking Jian Wushuang with his saber, stopped what he was doing. He stopped in midair. Ha! Jian Wushuang was stunned. He felt that he was about to break through and integrate the 4 principles. But at the critical moment, Ancient Chaos Star Master stopped. What are you doing, Ancient Chaos Star Master? Jian Wushuang frowned and looked over. Blood Sword Master, you are not weak. With the principle True Treasure Divine Sword, you can completely block my saber techniques. I can't kill you at all. If we continue to fight, it will be a waste of time and might attract other experts nearby. In that case, why do we have to fight again? Ancient Chaos Star Master said directly. Jian Wushuang had a strange look on his face. Of course, he knew what ancient Chaos Star Master meant. Since they could not do anything to each other, there was no need to waste time fighting. But he was different. He had gained a lot from the fierce battle with ancient Chaos Star Master just now. He was even sure that as long as ancient Chaos Star Master fought with him for a while, he would be able to fuse the four principles, but ancient Chaos Star Master stopped. Jian Wushuang had no choice. He could not tell ancient Chaos Star Master that he was seeking a breakthrough with the help of his opponent's saber technique. Right? If that was the case, ancient Chaos Star Master would most likely leave without saying a word. Blood Sword Master, goodbye. Ancient Chaos Star Master did not stay any longer and left. Jian Wushuang was helpless, but he did not force him. Moreover, after the fight just now, he had a clear understanding of the process of fusing the four principles. Now, he felt that if he found a place to meditate, he might be able to perfectly merge the four principles. Although the eternal dark prison is full of killing, only the strong and fearless top experts can find a place to live and meditate. As for most of the prisoners, they don't dare to stay in one place for too long. Instead, they often wander around the dark areas. However, I already have a clear route to merge the four principles. It doesn't take long to merge the four principles, so they won't be disturbed midway, Jian Wushuang muttered. He was not afraid of being targeted, nor was he afraid of being killed. What he was afraid of was that he would be interrupted at the most critical moment of the integration of the principles, and then all his efforts would be wasted. However, the probability of that was not high. Immediately, Jian Wushuang found a relatively remote mountain nearby and opened a temporary cave mansion in the middle of the mountain. Then he began to cultivate in the cave mansion. In the cave mansion, Jian Wushuang sat with his legs crossed. The power of four different principles slowly rose from his body. Unfortunately, the eternal dark prison was too harsh. The power of principles contained in the surrounding void was very thin. The power of principles that rose from Jian Wushuang did not resonate with the surrounding heaven and earth. For principles, Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed. Let's begin. Jian Wushuang began to fuse the principles according to the path he had in mind. Time passed, and a year passed in the blink of an eye. During this year, Jian Wushuang gradually fused the principles of the earth with the other three principles according to the path he had in mind. The process was smooth, and the fusion of the four principles was finally coming to an end. It's done. Jian Wushuang suddenly opened his eyes with a hint of excitement in them. On the surface of his body, the four principles of temporal, reincarnation, destruction, and earth had perfectly fused together, complementing each other. The power of heaven and earth that Jian Wushuang had mastered increased again. But soon Jian Wushuang's face turned gloomy again. No, I don't feel any signs of a breakthrough? Jian Wushuang could not help but clench his hands and frown deeply. In the divine beginning realm, or even in the entire vast universe, an ordinary principles master who had fused four principles could naturally break through to become a ruler. This was common sense. Many rulers that Jian Wushuang was familiar with, for example, had directly broken through to become a ruler after fusing four principles. But now he had also fused four principles. In other aspects, his comprehension of the sword principle origin had long surpassed that of most third-level rulers. He had even grasped a trace of the universe principle. In terms of absolute arts of sword techniques, he was far more tyrannical than ordinary rulers. Logically speaking, he had completely fulfilled all the requirements of breaking through to become a ruler. However, he did not feel any signs of breaking through to become a ruler. At first, he thought it was because he was in the eternal dark prison, where the cultivation environment was extremely harsh, and there was no way for him to become a ruler. But he immediately shook his head and denied it. The harsh cultivation environment will only make me unable to make a breakthrough to a certain extent. It's not that I don't feel like I have made a breakthrough at all. It's obvious that I can't make a breakthrough at all. To be exact, I don't meet the requirements to become a ruler. Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth. He was unable to break through. Even though he had already fused with the four principles and met the requirements to become a ruler, he was still unable to break through. He was already mentally prepared for this. After all, he was not an ordinary cultivator. He was a special life form and a perfect-grade special life form. In the vast universe, although special life forms were blessed by nature, they were also restricted by the universe. The universe was fair. Compared to ordinary cultivators, special life forms had many innate advantages, but this also created special life forms. It was much more difficult to break through bottlenecks than ordinary cultivators. For example, Shenwu was blessed by the heavens. He was born with the ability to fuse the 9 principles and become the ultimate ruler, but it was extremely difficult for Shenwu to reach the peak. For example, although the undying nether spirit was not a special life form, it was still the most terrifying pinnacle race in the universe. The undying nether spirit was extremely heaven-defying, but it was also extremely restricted by the universe. The more powerful a race or life was, the greater the universe's restrictions would be. Jian Wushuang was a special life form at the perfect level. The universe's restrictions were incomparable to those of few living beings in the vast universe. This was the case when he broke through from the immortal saint to the principles master level. An ordinary immortal saint could break through to the principles masters as long as he comprehended one principle. However, he did not break through until he comprehended 2 principles at the same time and fused them together. Now, he had comprehended and fused 4 principles and met the minimum requirement for an ordinary cultivator to break through to the principles masters. However, he was still far from breaking through. When I broke through from the immortal saint to the principles master, I guessed that it would be much more difficult for me to break through from the principles master to the ruler. However, I couldn't be sure. I also thought that I was lucky, but now it seems Jian Wushuang sighed secretly. He had been prepared for the immortal saint to break through to the principles master. After all, his master Xianxia had led the way. Xianxia had fused 2 principles to become a principles master, so it was the same for him. However, no one had led him from a principles master to a ruler. After all, his master Xianxia had only been a principles master when he was at his peak. He had not been able to break through to the ruler level. Moreover, Xianxia had not fused 4 principles at that time. This made Jian Wushuang feel a little lucky. Maybe he could also break through to the level of a ruler after fusing 4 principles. It was a good idea, but the reality was cruel. If I can break through to the level of a ruler, I can immediately refine the divine beginning realm again. I can guarantee that the divine beginning realm will be safe, but unfortunately, Jian Wushuang could only shake his head secretly. But on the bright side, after fusing the 4 principles, my strength has also improved a lot. It can be considered a great harvest. After fusing the 4 principles, Jian Wushuang received more than just the power of his will. Just the divine power of fusing the 4 principles was enough to increase the power of Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship by a large margin. He also had a higher level of application of the principles, which also increased his strength to a certain extent. In addition, there was swordsmanship. My comprehension of the universe origin of sword principle is very high, but I have merged too few principles, so my swordsmanship is more or less affected. Now that the 4 principles have been merged, the swordsmanship I created should be able to be improved to a certain extent. Of course, the most important move is the Earth Guardian, Jian Wushuang muttered. The Earth Protection Sword technique was to condense the Earth Sword realm. When this Earth Sword realm was used, it mainly relied on 2 aspects. The first was his comprehension of the universe origin of Sword Dao, and the second was the principles of the Earth. Previously, although he had comprehended the principles of the Earth, he did not fuse it with the other 3 principles, which resulted in him only being able to add the principle of the Earth into this sword domain. But now, he could use the Earth principle as the main principle and perfectly integrate the other 3 principles into it, making the Earth Sword realm more powerful. Let's begin. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and calmed down the restlessness in his heart. Then he continued to enhance the power of his swordsmanship in the cave mansion. The 3 most powerful swordsmanship he created, Hazy, Wavelight, and Earthguard, would definitely have the greatest impact after he fused the 4 principles. However, the power of the other 2 sword skills could also be greatly improved. Next, Jian Wushuang stayed in the cave mansion and continued to spend time improving his sword skills. The process of improving his sword skills was more complicated and took a longer time than the merging of the 4 principles. In the blink of an eye, another 3 years had passed. The ninth dark zone was thousands of miles away from the cave mansion where Jian Wushuang was hiding. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two figures suddenly condensed in the void. They were Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch, who was attracted by the principal treasure divine sword in Jian Wushuang's hand, and Blood Rain Demon Monarch, whom he had invited. Blood Rain Demon Monarch was the only woman among the 5 strongest experts in the ninth dark zone. She was beautiful, graceful, and charming. At this moment, a burly man stood in front of them. If Jian Wushuang were here, he would have recognized him immediately. This burly man was Ancient Chaos Star Master, who had fought with him and was influenced by his saber skills. He had integrated 4 principles. Ancient Chaos Star Master gives his greetings. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch and Blood Rain Demon Monarch. Ancient Chaos Star Master was shocked. He was merely a peak stage 2nd-level ruler. Although his life-saving abilities were quite good, he could only deal with ordinary 3rd-level rulers. As for Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch and Blood Rain Demon Monarch, any one of these two would be enough to easily kill him. He was naturally shocked. Ancient Chaos Star Master, let me ask you, have you seen that newly risen Blood Sword Master? Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch looked down. Blood Sword Master? Ancient Chaos Star Master's expression changed. He sensed the anxiety in Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch's eyes and guessed why he was so anxious. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch, I did meet Blood Sword Master 4 years ago. We had a fierce battle, but he was not weak. I couldn't do anything to him, so I left. I haven't seen him for the next 4 years, and I don't think I've heard that Blood Sword Master is still active in this area. Ancient Chaos Star Master said truthfully. Did you see him again 4 years ago? Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch's face darkened. After he learned of Jian Wushuang's existence, he immediately invited Demon Master Bloodrain to come here. When he arrived, Jian Wushuang happened to be hiding in the cave mansion. For the past 4 years, Jian Wushuang had been hiding in the cave mansion and had not come out. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch had come to this area to look for many prisoners who had been wandering around. Most of them did not know about Jian Wushuang, and even if they did, they had heard or met him 4 years ago. In other words, Jian Wushuang had not appeared in this area in the past 4 years. Has Blood Sword Master left? Thousand Blade Demon Master asked in a low voice. It's possible. Blood Rain Demon Monarch nodded slightly. He said softly, Blood Sword Master is only a principal's master and has a principal true treasure, but he was able to survive in the eternal dark prison for so long. He is definitely not an idiot. He knows that there has been a disturbance in the 9th dark region, so it's normal for him to leave immediately and go to another dark region. No, I don't believe that he left just like that. Keep looking. No matter what price I have to pay, I must find him. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch's face was twisted. His eyes were filled with unprecedented fervor and madness. In the cave mansion, Jian Wushuang had spent 3 years to improve his swordsmanship after fusing the 4 principles. Now, he had finally stopped. After 3 years of studying and improving my swordsmanship, the 3 strongest swordsmanship I've created, Hazy and Wave Light, have been greatly improved, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Hazy swordsmanship was improved in power. Wave Light, on the other hand, improved in power and conception, as well as its tenacity. However, in the past 3 years, his swordsmanship had improved the most. It was still the Earth Guard. The 4 principles have been combined with the Earth principles as the main principle. It is perfectly integrated into my swordsmanship. When I use Earth Guard, I can condense 51 levels of the Earth Sword Realm. Jian Wushuang's eyes were shining. When he fought with Demon Monarch Ancient Knight outside the Ancient Knight Demon Palace, the latter had spent a lot of money to use his strongest trump card, a super-secret skill from his master, and his battle strength had burst out in a short time. He had almost reached the advanced ruler level of the 3rd level. But at that time, Jian Wushuang could only condense 43 levels of the Earth Sword Realm, and he still managed to block that trump card. Now, Jian Wushuang could condense a total of 51 levels of the Earth Sword Realm. Because of the fusion of the 4 principles, the quality of the 51 levels of the Earth Sword Realm was much better than the previous 43 levels. There was no doubt now, his body protection ability was definitely much better than before. This also gave him more capital to explore the eternal dark prison. I've stayed in this cave mansion for 4 years. I should go out and explore it. Jian Wushuang smiled and walked out of the cave mansion immediately. After leaving the cave mansion, Jian Wushuang immediately released his soul power to check the surrounding environment. Then, he began to explore the 9th dark area. Half a day later, Jian Wushuang met a prisoner. However, Jian Wushuang recognized him at a glance. He was just a master at the peak of the 2nd level, and his battle strength was probably even weaker than that of Demon Monarch Ancient Knight. Jian Wushuang shook his head and did not choose to fight with him. Instead, he continued to look for stronger opponents. 4 years ago, he would have been more willing to fight with these masters at the peak of the 2nd level if he had not integrated the 4 principles. However, with the integration of the 4 principles, his overall strength had greatly increased. It was difficult for the masters at the peak of the 2nd level to arouse his interest. Now, he had to fight with those masters who were at least at the 3rd level. 4 days later, a master at the 3rd level finally appeared in Jian Wushuang's soul perception. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang did not say anything and directly rushed toward him. Emperor Lingguang. Jian Wushuang calmly looked at the ruler in front of him. You are the blood sword master? Emperor Lingguang, who was dressed in a golden robe, looked at Jian Wushuang with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Although he could not communicate with the token in the eternal dark prison, which caused the message to be blocked, Jian Wushuang had been wandering in this area. Naturally, some of the rulers and prisoners in this area knew of his existence. I heard that Emperor Lingguang's spear skill is superb, and the most powerful secret skill, the divine light of fog, is your ability to dominate the 9th dark area. With this move, you can rank among the top 53rd level overlords in the 9th dark area. Now that I've seen you today, I'd like to experience it, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. As you wish. Emperor Lingguang did not waste any time and directly said it. A pitch-black spear appeared in Emperor Lingguang's hand. The pitch-black spear was suffused with a layer of dark green light, exuding an extremely powerful aura. As the divine power in Emperor Lingguang's hand churned, the pitch-black spear shot straight out like a dragon. Phew! 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 The void has been torn apart mercilessly. In just a split second, Emperor Lingguang stabbed 19 times at the same time, each faster and fiercer than the last. Jian Wushuang also took a step forward. With the Wuqi divine sword in hand, the vast universe origin of sword principle spread out. Jian Wushuang did not use the sword technique of wave and light to tangle with Emperor Lingguang immediately. Instead, he chose to fight head-on. Under his swing, the Wuqi divine sword also slashed out a series of extremely powerful sword shadows. These sword shadows were fused with 4 principles and contained a trace of the universe's principles. Clang, 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 clang. The sound of metal clashing resounded through the void. In that instant, Jian Wushuang and Emperor Lingguang had clashed 19 times. Jian Wushuang was at a disadvantage in each of the 19 collisions. After the 19 collisions, he was forced to retreat in a sorry state. Emperor Lingguang frowned when he saw this. It is said that the Blood Sword Master swordsmanship is so powerful that even a 3rd-level master would not be able to break free from it or defeat it with force. However, the Blood Sword Master's battle strength is still far from that of the 3rd-level master. But now, Emperor Lingguang gave Jian Wushuang a deep look. He had used all his strength in the previous 19 strikes. Although he had completely suppressed Jian Wushuang, that was all. He could see that the power of Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship had reached the threshold of a 3rd-level ruler. If I can't defeat him with 19 strikes, I'm afraid that he can block it head-on even if I use the 7 moves of Ling Ying. It seems that I can only use the divine light of fog. Emperor Lingguang's eyes narrowed. He had roamed the eternal prison for so many years and had created many unique moves. The Lingguang 19 strikes was one of them. As for the Ling Ying 7 strikes, it was slightly stronger than the 19 Lingguang Qi spears, but it was not much stronger. And his strongest move was the extreme fog divine light. Kill! Emperor Lingguang let out a deep bellow as his body suddenly emitted beams of light. The light was abnormally dazzling, like a huge sun. In the midst of the boundless light, The black spear in Emperor Lingguang's hand stabbed out explosively. In an instant, the world fell silent, and a burst of destructive power suddenly condensed and exploded. This is the divine light of the extreme fog? Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up, but his face was quite solemn. With this move, Emperor Lingguang is qualified to be ranked in the top 50 of the 9th Dark Zone. I'd like to see how much more powerful my strongest power is compared to the divine light of the extreme fog. Jian Wushuang's power burst to the maximum, and the Wu Qi divine sword in his hand let out a whine. Then a hazy sword shadow flew out directly. The most powerful sword skill Jian Wushuang had created, the obscure sword skill. This move had been greatly improved after Jian Wushuang had fused 4 principles. Now, when Jian Wushuang displayed this move, the light shining in the hazy fog was equally dazzling, and its power was not much weaker than the full-strength attack of an ordinary 3rd-level ruler. In the blink of an eye, the obscure sword skill collided with the divine light of fog. Bang! As if 2 stars were colliding, both of them exploded with dazzling light. However, it was obvious that Jian Wushuang's obscure sword skill was much weaker in power. After fighting with the divine light of fog for a moment, the fog was dispersed, and an extremely strong power directly covered Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's body trembled and he was forced back. After he regained his balance in the void, Jian Wushuang felt the impact in his body. After a long while, he looked up again and said, "You are indeed Emperor Lingguang. Your most powerful move, divine light of fog, is indeed powerful." Jian Wushuang was indeed impressed. Although he had encountered a stronger Ancient Soul King when he was adventuring, he did not intend to face Ancient Soul King head-on because he had used the sword technique of wave light to fight with him. Therefore, he could not really feel the strength of Ancient Soul King's attack at a close distance. However, he chose to fight against Emperor Lingguang head-on this time. In the end, he was crushed by his opponent. Emperor Lingguang's divine light of fog was obviously much more powerful than his obscure sword skill. A principal's master was not injured when he fought with my divine light of fog. You are very powerful. Emperor Lingguang looked at Jian Wushuang. I heard from others that your strength was only at the peak of the 2nd-level ruler level, and that your entanglement swordsmanship was special. You were able to tangle with an ordinary 3rd-level master, but it doesn't seem to be the case now. Even if you don't use your entanglement swordsmanship, your battle strength has barely reached the 3rd level. Haha, I just happened to gain some insights recently, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. In the eternal dark prison where we can't see the sun, we can't improve our strength even after dozens of chaos cycles, but you have gained some insights and improved your strength. That's even more amazing. Unfortunately, you're imprisoned in the eternal dark prison, so your talent is wasted. Emperor Lingguang sighed lightly. I'll say no more. Blood Sword Master. Farewell. Emperor Lingguang turned around and left. Jian Wushuang did not stop him. At least I have a new understanding of my current combat strength after fighting with Emperor Lingguang. My current combat strength should have barely reached the threshold of the 3rd level. If I encounter weaker 3rd-level masters, I should be able to fight them even without using sword skill wavelight. Jian Wushuang smiled. 4 years ago, when he encountered a 3rd-level master, he had no chance to fight him head-on. He could only use his sword skill wavelight to tangle with him. But now, he could at least fight against an ordinary 3rd-level master. Apparently, after fusing the 4 principles, his strength had improved greatly. Continue to explore. Jian Wushuang immediately continued to explore the surrounding areas. 5 days later, Emperor Lingguang, who was wearing a golden robe and looked elegant, was slowly moving in the void. Suddenly, 2 figures appeared at the end of his line of sight and rushed toward him at a terrifying speed. Oh no! Emperor Lingguang's expression changed greatly. He did not hesitate to use his fastest speed to escape to the side. Emperor Lingguang, stop. The 2 of us will not make things difficult for you. A cold voice suddenly sounded. After Emperor Lingguang realized that the 2 figures behind him had stopped, he chose to stop as well. However, he still maintained a distance from the other party. Once he realized that something was amiss, he could still escape immediately. Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch and Blood Rain Demon Monarch? It's the two of you? Emperor Lingguang was alarmed. He could not fight either Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch or Blood Rain Demon Monarch. Any one of them could kill him if they attacked. Thankfully, the two in front of him did not seem to have any intention of attacking him. My lords, is there anything I, Lingguang, can help you with? Emperor Lingguang lowered his stance and his expression was filled with reverence. Emperor Lingguang, let me ask you this. When you were adventuring in this area, did you encounter that Blood Sword Master? Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch asked in a low voice. Blood Sword Master? Emperor Lingguang's expression changed. He immediately understood that Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch was here to look for Blood Sword Master. It was very likely that Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch had taken a fancy to the principal true treasure godly sword in Blood Sword Master's hand. Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch, I have indeed met the Blood Sword Master you mentioned, and I fought him just 5 days ago, said Emperor Lingguang. 5 days ago? Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch was stunned. But then he was overjoyed. Emperor Lingguang, is what you said true? Lingguang doesn't dare to deceive you. Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch. Emperor Lingguang said with a smile. 5 days ago, I did exchange blows with him. And when I exchanged blows with him, I discovered that his strength had increased by quite a lot. Previously, he could only rely on his entanglement sword techniques to contend with ordinary third-level rulers. But when he exchanged blows with me, he did not use his entanglement sword techniques. Instead, he clashed head-on with me. In the end, I only managed to suppress him. Even when he took my ultimate move, the Extreme Fog Divine Light, in the end, I was unable to truly injure him despite crushing him. Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch's eyes lit up completely. Emperor Lingguang, where did you fight him 5 days ago? Asked Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch. Just behind me, about 30 million kilometers away, said Emperor Lingguang. Only 30 million kilometers? Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch narrowed his eyes. Emperor Lingguang, thank you very much. You can leave now. Emperor Lingguang was relieved as he immediately flew to the void on the side. After Emperor Lingguang left, there's finally news of Blood Sword Master. Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch's eyes were filled with pleasant surprise. He has disappeared for 4 years in a row. I thought Blood Sword Master had really left the 9th Dark Zone. But now it seems that he hasn't left. He has gained some insights and has been cultivating in seclusion for 4 years. Now that his strength has increased a little, he has come out to explore again. He is only 30 million kilometers away and only has 5 days. He should still be exploring the area. If we rush there now, we should be able to find him, said Blood Rain Demon Monarch. Yes. Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch nodded. Since we have determined his approximate location, there is no need to hide. We should release our soul energy and find him as soon as possible. Although Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch and Demon Master Bloodrain had been searching for Jian Wushuang in this area, they did not use their soul power to sweep the area. After all, they were worried that they would alert the enemy and let Jian Wushuang escape. Therefore, they had been asking and investigating step by step for the past few years. Until now, they did not use their soul power until they knew Jian Wushuang's approximate location. The Eternal Dark Prison also had a lot of restrictions on the soul power of cultivators. For example, in the Eternal Dark Prison, Jian Wushuang's soul power could only cover an area of 100,000 miles. However, this was because Jian Wushuang was only a principal's master, he was not a ruler yet, so his soul power was not as strong as before. As for Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch and Blood Rain Demon Monarch, who were the strongest in the 9th Dark Zone, they were both third-level rulers. Their soul power could spread out and cover an area of 1 million kilometers. The two of them spread out their soul power with all their strength. They kept a distance from each other and kept looking in the direction that Emperor Lingguang had pointed out. There are no principal's masters in this region of 1 million kilometers. I don't have any here either. No. The two of them were extremely fast. It did not take long for them to search more than half of the region that Emperor Lingguang had pointed out. Finally, an aura at the principal's master level appeared within Thousand-Edge Demon Monarch's soul perception. Found it! Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch's eyes lit up as he immediately summoned Blood Rain over. Blood Rain, leave the killing of Blood Sword Master to me. Your job is to make sure that he can't escape, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch said. Don't worry, leave it to me. Blood Rain Demon Monarch smiled faintly. You go alone first. Don't attack him in a hurry. Don't scare him away immediately. Give me some time to set up the formation. I know, but hurry up. After saying that, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch dashed toward Jian Wushuang. Huh? Blood Sword Master should have sensed my soul power, but he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stood there as if he was waiting for me to come. Haha. It seems that the heavens are helping me. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch was very happy. He did not rush toward Jian Wushuang as quickly as he could. Instead, he slowly approached Jian Wushuang. In the vast void, Jian Wushuang stood there with an extremely calm expression. He did sense Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch's soul power, and he became alert at once. After all, he knew that among the many prisoners in the Eternal Dark Prison, apart from himself, those who dared to release their soul power so recklessly were usually experts who were absolutely confident in their own strength. For example, the third-level masters Jian Wushuang had met in the Eternal Dark Prison. Even the strongest ancient Soul King did not dare to release their soul power without restraint. Who is the owner of this soul power? Jian Wushuang was a little curious, but he was not afraid at all. As the other party gradually approached, a figure soon appeared in Jian Wushuang's soul perception range. No wonder he dared to use his soul power so openly. It's him. Jian Wushuang smiled. He had received detailed information about the prisoners from Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, especially from the 9th Dark Zone. As one of the 5 most powerful experts in the 9th Dark Zone, he naturally recognized Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch at a glance. According to the information given by Demon Monarch Ancient Knight, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch is good at sword principle and his swordsmanship is very strong. From the looks of it, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch is obviously here to find me. If I'm not mistaken, he is here for my Wu Qi Divine Sword. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He did not hide the fact that he had the Wu Qi Divine Sword, a principal treasure. Although it was very difficult to transmit information in the Eternal Prison, it was normal for Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch to receive information in the 9th Dark Zone. Knowing that Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch was coming, Jian Wushuang did not have any intention of running away. Instead, he stood there and waited quietly. In the blink of an eye, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch had appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Haha! You must be Blood Sword Master, right? A hearty laughter rang out. After arriving, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch did not intend to attack immediately. Instead, he greeted Jian Wushuang warmly. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch, I've heard a lot about you, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. I've long heard that a super genius has appeared in the 9th Dark Zone. He has comprehended a trace of universe principle at the level of Principles Master, and his swordsmanship is extremely high. Even a third-level ruler can't do anything to him. I finally met him today, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch said with a smile. He was very enthusiastic. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch, may I know why you're here? Jian Wushuang did not have the time to listen to Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch's bragging. Instead, he directly asked him why he was here. To tell you the truth, I'm here mainly for the principal true treasure sword in your hands, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch said seriously. As expected, you're here for the principal true treasure sword. Jian Wushuang chuckled. Blood Sword Master, you know how dangerous Eternal Dark Prison is. Although you have some strength, you're just a Principles Master with a Principal Supreme Treasure. If an expert with ulterior motives finds out about this, he or she will definitely come to kill you at all costs. It can be said that the Array Supreme Treasure, the Divine Sword, in your hands, is a treasure that will attract countless experts. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch looked at Jian Wushuang. I see. Jian Wushuang was non-committal. But it would be different if I had the nomological treasure sword. My current strength is already at the top of the first level of Eternal Dark Prison, only slightly weaker than the 10 Kings. But if I have the sword, I can rival the 10 Kings. By then, I can become the 11th King, and no one would dare to snatch it from me, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch added. Yes, it's possible. Jian Wushuang nodded again. In that case, Blood Sword Master, why don't you give me the nomological treasure Divine Sword? Of course, I won't mistreat you. I have countless treasures in my hands. You can choose any treasures that are useful to me. I can also guarantee that when I become the new emperor, I will occupy a large territory for you and make you the lord of that territory. With my protection, no one will be able to threaten you in the eternal dark prison. Blood Sword Master, what do you think? Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch stared at Jian Wushuang. Let me choose the treasures in my hands. Even when you become the new king, you will occupy a territory for me and make me a lord? Jian Wushuang revealed a playful smile. He glanced at Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch, but he said with a smile, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch, you know that I can't give you the principle-based supreme treasure, Divine Sword, but you still try your best to persuade me. Let me guess. What are you planning? Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch's expression changed. Suddenly, an extremely weak fluctuation appeared in the surrounding void. Although the fluctuation was extremely weak, Jian Wushuang immediately sensed it. A formation? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and said, No wonder Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch wasted your breath on me. It turns out that you've already found someone to set up a formation in the dark. The formation should have taken shape by now. Hehe. Blood Sword Master didn't show any fear even though he knew that the formation had taken shape. His calmness is admirable. A faint, delicate laughter came from the void. A beautiful, yet somewhat demonic figure slowly appeared in the void. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank when he saw who it was. Demon Master Blood Rain? Among the 5 supreme experts of the 9th Dark Zone, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch's offensive and killing abilities were extremely strong. She should be the strongest in her offensive and killing methods. As for Blood Rain Demon Monarch, she was good at formations. Her formations were extremely difficult to deal with, and even Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch would be in trouble if he accidentally fell into disfavor. Both of them had their own methods, but now they appeared in front of him at the same time. Blood Rain Demon Monarch, are you also interested in the principal supreme treasure in my hand? Jian Wushuang asked. Who doesn't want a nomological treasure? However, this is the eternal dark prison after all, and the resources are limited. The formation treasure in your hand doesn't match the magic weapon I'm using. I'm not very interested in your nomological treasure, but I owe Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch a favor. This time, Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch asked me to help him seize your nomological treasure. I can't refuse, Blood Rain Demon Monarch said with a smile. Thousand-Edge, the formation has been set up. With the formation, unless his attack power is comparable to the 10 Kings, he won't be able to leave for a short time even if his attack power is comparable to yours. Very good. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch was overjoyed. He looked at Jian Wushuang again. The warm expression on his face had long disappeared and was replaced by a cold and sharp look. Humph, I was worried that this kid might escape from me, so I spent so much time talking to him so that you could set up a formation around him. Now that the formation has been set up, this kid won't be able to escape even if he has wings. I don't want to waste my time talking to him anymore. I'll just kill him and the principal supreme treasure Divine Sword will be mine. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch's voice was cold and filled with endless killing intent. With a flip of his palm, a purple divine sword appeared in his hand. The power of the purple divine sword was not weak either. It was obviously a supreme grade magic weapon. However, when Jian Wushuang took out the Wuxia divine sword, the faint aura of a principal-type true treasure spread out. The light on the surface of the purple divine sword immediately dimmed, and its aura was greatly weakened. It's indeed a principal-type true treasure. Although it hasn't collided head-on, just its appearance has greatly reduced the power of the divine sword in my hand. Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch praised, but his desire for the Wuxia divine sword grew. Blood Sword Master, die! Thousand-Edged Demon Monarch's body suddenly emitted a vast amount of demonic power, as if he was a demon god from the 9 Serenities hell. His body was also much stronger than before, and the terrifying demonic power came pressing down on Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang immediately activated the Magic Light Domain and the Mystic Light Realm, trying to suppress Thousand Edge Demon Monarch as much as possible. However, Thousand Edge Demon Monarch was extremely powerful. Even if Jian Wushuang's realm completely suppressed him, it would only slightly affect his strength. Not to mention that Thousand Edge Demon Monarch had been in the Eternal Dark Prison for so many years and was recognized as the strongest expert in the Ninth Dark Zone. He must have a domain-type supreme treasure in his hand. With a thought from Thousand Edge Demon Monarch, vast black flames began to burn crazily. The Black Flame Realm was no weaker than Jian Wushuang's Magic Light Domain. Even with the support of the Magic Light Domain, Jian Wushuang's realm only had a slight advantage. Thousand Edge Demon Monarch was still full of demonic power. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived in front of Jian Wushuang. The purple divine sword in his hand shot toward Jian Wushuang's throat like a purple electric snake. Jian Wushuang spread his wings and retreated several steps. Then he swooped down and slashed down with the Wuxia divine sword. Clang! When the two collided, a huge force was transmitted through Jian Wushuang's arm. Jian Wushuang's face darkened, and he twisted his body to perfectly neutralize the impact of the force. Then he waved the Wuxia divine sword in his right hand. The strongest swordsmanship, hazy, whoosh, the shocking sword shadow showed its power. Humph! The light of fireflies dares to compete with the sun and moon. Thousand Edge Demon Monarch looked disdainful. Demonic chi surged around his body, and the purple divine sword in his hand suddenly became bigger. It was as if a peerless demon god had raised a heaven-splitting giant sword. This giant sword indeed had the power to split the heaven and earth. Bang! With a loud sound, Jian Wushuang's body suddenly shook, and he was sent flying like a cannonball. The terrifying power from the purple divine sword was still on his divine body. Even though he was weakened by the black gold magic dragon armor on his body, a lot of it still hit his body and caused him some damage. As expected of Thousand Edge Demon Monarch, who has the strongest defensive power in the Ninth Dark Zone. When I fought with Emperor Lingguang, I also used the obscure swordsmanship to resist his most powerful move, the Divine Light of Fog. Although my swordsmanship was defeated, the Divine Light of Fog could not hurt me. But now, Thousand Edge Demon Monarch swordsmanship has really hurt me. What's more, this move is definitely not Thousand Edge Demon Monarch's strongest move. Jian Wushuang exclaimed. Emperor Lingguang, who was also a third-level ruler, was ranked in the top 50 in the Ninth Dark Zone. However, he was still far from Thousand Edge Demon Monarch, who was one of the 5 strongest experts. Jian Wushuang could try to confront Emperor Lingguang head-on. But in the face of Thousand Edge Demon Monarch, it was obviously impossible for him to fight him head-on. Thousand Edge Demon Monarch, try my sword again, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Whoosh! Whoosh! Streams of sword essence swept out like waves. In an instant, the void in front of him seemed to have sunk into an endless sea. Countless waves spread out in layers, never ending. The ocean of sword intent that filled the sky surged and completely covered Thousand Edge Demon Monarch in front of him.